And scene. How are y'all doing this evening? Because I tend to think that we've all got a decent idea exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And let's just say it's a fun one. I mean, look, if I could be really honest with y'all, and as you know, to anyone who shows up on time, you know that I end up repeating a lot of what I say at the start, not only throughout the show, but I mean, I will never be able. Thank you. Yes, Arch Bears CJ2K. That's goofy. That's Chris Johnson, right? But so you guys know that for some reason that I cannot control nor will ever understand, YouTube seems to swell at like an hour in. And so right now we're just talking. We're just hanging out. And you know what, Akusai? We are kind of talking about Panthers draft fans' regrets. So look, if I could be really blunt with y'all, like really bold, right? As an internet analyst, the number one thing that I'm afraid of is telling y'all something I haven't thoroughly researched, because when I do that, not only do I put myself out and potentially vulnerable to being totally wrong, but another thing that I think I always worry about is setting expectations somewhere where they aren't, right? I mean, just to call a spade here, the number one thing that I've been worried about throughout this season's streams so far, and the video that I tried to put together and ultimately failed to do, shame on me, about Justin Fields, was that I was telling y'all a breakout game was coming or else we should be worried, and nothing was going to come. I mean, it's a simple thought, right? That I, like tons of other fanalists, would be out there saying, oh, good things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Be on the lookout for good things. And what if they didn't? And I was thinking about that. I really was. I mean, especially as he was getting torn to shreds by Tampa Bay, where you guys remember that? That was like a two-hour rant, basically just making excuses for Fields, saying, I thought he did this well, and his team let him down, and so on and so forth. I mean, Fields seemed to have really turned a corner there right as the Tampa Bay game was coming to town, but then we hit the San Francisco game where I thought he looked, I don't even want to say crazy special. He just looked like he was taking a step forward. And then we get this game. And this game's hilarious because throughout the first half, you see much more of that Tampa Bay, San Francisco quarterback, right? That quarterback that's good, a rookie, but good. And then in the second half, oh boy, does he suddenly start accumulating yards. Like, a lot of it's statistics, a lot of it's really good things, but I think we would all agree that when it comes to football, one thing that can be really complicated is that sometimes it's an incredibly tough play that gets you 5 yards, and other times it's a blown gasket play that gets you like 8. Exactly, John. Exactly. See, now there you go. That's like John Delatalia here has got exactly the answer we all needed. I hadn't thought of it that way, John, but you know, it's the only explanation, right? It's the only explanation. Matt Nagy must have been calling plays in the first half, and then he gave them back over to Bill Lazor in the second half. Dadgummit, Matt Nagy, if he'd only let Bill Lazor call plays throughout the whole game, maybe the Bears would have scored 50. Am I right or am I right? But yeah, I mean, you guys know it. I know it. We got a lot of good film to watch through today. We got a lot of interesting film. Not all of it's like great, you know? Like there's a lot of messy stuff, and there's a lot of curl routes. I mean, you're coming to watch a Chicago Bears All 22 stream. You know curl routes are coming, but even so, it has started to just break me a little inside as a fan of offense. How often it's like, oh, and every receiver curled. Oh, look at that. All of them curled. Oh, wow. Would you believe it? They're all curl routes. Like, it is a little wild how often they just call curls. Like, it breaks me a bit. But Fields persevered, and so shall we. Now, I guess as we kind of just piddle around, because we can talk about whatever. Is there anything y'all do want to talk about? We could talk a little bit about defense. I had the time. So things at my office. This, if you ever catch me closing this, that's my work computer. And so What's going on, Scott? My office has been pretty wild recently, so I had the chance to go through and with a fine-tooth comb watch the offense, so we can do that. But I have some general like defensive things that we can talk about, but I'm leaning on the bye because I want to do some more defensive analysis, and I'll take that. But so let's see, second to last play of the game. That is a good question, so we'll go through that. But we could talk a little bit about Vildor Island, which seems like a real tourist destination nowadays. We can talk about general Bears like attitudes. We can talk about how disappointed I am in the pass rush. We can talk about all that. Just know, and I'm telling you right now, I have not gone through and like really cut everything out near the way that I can with offense right now, just on account of time. But happy to do it. We could do it live. We could watch plays, be like, ooh, I thought, but then, and so on and so forth. But so, let's see, Mr. Myrtle, the tweet from Monday, the Bears always seem like they're actively trying to get out of the way of the play that was called. That was hilarious. But so, oh man, I totally know what you mean, Scott. Like the whole first half was just pain. Like watching the Bears on Monday Night Football was one of those where I had all my friends texting me like, "Oh, the Bears suck," and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. This is my team. This is what I follow. But let's see, false start on the second to last play of the game. So here we go. Let's find it. You mean like, let's see, is it this one? By the way. So he didn't look like he did there. But so, I mean, yeah, Chris, I won't understand it. I would love to pretend to you that I understand Nagy and the Bears' utter reliance on all curls. But it's just a favorite. I really couldn't tell you. Like, I would love to pretend. So one thing that I can tell you about, though, JT O'Sullivan brought this up. I can just answer this now, right? One thing, because I made sure to watch his video that he talked about, is he wants the Bears to do more creative stuff in the run game. And I am convinced, or in the QB run game, namely. And I am convinced that the Bears are just absolutely terrified. That one seems good, Akusai. The Bears are absolutely terrified of Justin Fields getting hurt one way or another. Let's see. You know what, Roquan? One of these days, I would love to. Almost got him on the podcast at one point, but ended up not coordinating well enough. It'll happen. It's coming. Let's see. This is probably the one right here. So let's see. Snap. Snap comes as they move by the looks of it. They're both out of their stance for sure. But one thing that gets really complicated with a lot of these false starts, like Peters gets tagged for one early in the game that I would look at. I mean, Akusai, I can't explain it to you other than it seems like referees will give the tackles a little bit of leeway when it comes to them doing almost anything, especially off a silent count. And maybe it's just that they don't want to call false start every down, because I hear you. Like, let me see if I can catch it a little bit better. But both these guys are up out of their stance really, really quickly. But let's see here. We'll see if we can't catch the instant the ball moves. And I still missed it just a little bit. But they're clearly up faster than the interior, which definitely makes it look like a false start. And yeah, Scott, I know Nate Tice did a stream. There are going to be some things. I didn't watch it. I didn't have the time to. There are going to be some things that hopefully we'll agree on. Maybe some things we might disagree on. But yeah, I mean, I get the impression that Nagy thinks he's really flexible and ends up like trying a whole bunch of different concepts, but he doesn't have anything that he considers his bread and butter. Well, I guess he does. It's curls. I do mean that seriously, unfortunately. But it's definitely a song and dance with Nagy. I think the most complicated part, by the way, just getting it out there now, talking about Matt Nagy, is as Fields plays better, they are going to make, Fields is going to make this offensive scheme look better. I mean, there's no way to avoid, right? That the quarterback that hits, 15 yards on average per throw? Like 15 yards. Totally, Scott. I know exactly what you mean. I always think it's funny, by the way, just getting this out there now, right? Where now that Fields has gotten so popular, it's not just me talking about the Bears, which is hilarious. But so, yeah, Fields hits 15.6 yards on average, which is going to make Nagy's scheme look better. And yet, I mean, there's so much to be desired with the offensive coaching, the offensive scheme, that I don't see the reason that we should consider Matt Nagy tremendously different than the guy who was able to net 1 passing yard against Cleveland, which if it sounds like I'm sticking on it, that's purely because I tend to think that you could roll out the ball with almost any backup quarterback. Sean Mannion, Nick Foles, not Andy Dalton. I would consider him like that ultra low tier starter, but like anything... Any backup quarterback, any rookie quarterback, any quarterback signed off the street. You grab Josh Johnson, who just retired like last year, and I would think that you could do better than 1 passing yard, even against the Cleveland Browns. And that's part of why I would look back and just say, all right, we don't need to swivel our opinion on Matt Nagy. Like, we've been in this Matt Nagy soup for 4 years now. I tend to think whatever you think of him, stick with it, because Justin Fields playing well doesn't necessarily bode well for Anthony Lynn in that same way, or Justin Herbert playing well didn't bode well for Anthony Lynn. Justin Fields playing well probably won't bode particularly nicely for Matt Nagy, but that's just a guess. Who knows? I mean, the Bears really are in a place. I'm going to say it now. This could end up scaring some people, but if Justin Fields pulls off the miracle, comes out of the bye, beats Baltimore, which, if he did, that would be pretty wild. Like, let's get that out there first. This Bears defense is struggling to stop a lot of things, so stopping Lamar Jackson and Greg Roman's offense as they are operating right now could be a real challenge. But if they do get Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson back after the bye, you never know. But so, let's say Fields beats Baltimore. Let's say Fields beats Detroit. Let's say Fields beats the Giants. Win 2 Vikings games, and you got 8 wins, which I know, exactly, Grashim. It's wild to think, but like the Bears could end up in the playoffs because the whole NFC is a struggle fest. Like the NFC's 7th seed is going to be a pity team, whoever it is. The Bears are now winning the division. We don't need to play games about that. But yeah, exactly. I mean, Akusai said it well. Matt Nagy is winless whenever he has more than a week to prepare for a game. So maybe not. But yeah, I mean, if the Bears squeeze into the playoffs, or frankly, if they win 8 games, George McCaskey might just say like, oh, wow, incredible, wow, wild, growth. I mean, I'm with you, Jordan. Like, I think it's less about thinking they will and more about what if they do. And I'm hoping that the Bears end up, to be very blunt with you guys, I'm hoping they end up with like a scrappy 6 to 7 wins so that we don't have to confront this reality where maybe George McCaskey extends Matt Nagy, God forbid, right? But anyways, we can now, what is this? Let's see. Okay, that's so cool. Wait, what is this about Roman? Yeah, anyways, I suddenly realizing that I'm just getting too into the chat. You know what? Friends and fans, we are at 9:20. We got 97 viewers. We really might as well just go ahead and dive into this thing. So let's talk quarterback. Let's talk offense. Let's talk through some football. Hurrah, hurrah, right? So, starting at the top of the game, the Bears did their usual dance where they said, we want the ball, and they went 3 and out. Are we surprised? We are not. By the way, some things to watch for, just as we dive into this, because there's only so much that I'll be able to cover on a play-to-play basis, right? But one thing I want you guys to see, because I found it interesting, Larry Borum looks like the ghost of Charles Leno. I mean, like, he looks like what people thought Charles Leno was in all of the different ways, right? Larry Borum looks like a different player between when he's in a pass set, that's Borum right there, 75. When he's pass blocking, he looks really, really consistent. When he's run blocking, he looks, dare I say it, let's just say, like, not a mauler. He's really struggling when it comes to run blocking. So watch for that. Number 75 right here on the end. I don't think it makes a big difference on this play specifically, but Wrestling Figure Mania. That's funny, but hopefully sarcastic. Anyways, Bears start off with a run. Why wouldn't they, right? I mean, they kick things off with an outside zone run to the right, and it does not go well. I mean, now granted, remember, results aren't everything. That's not the case, and yet in this case, it's Peters and it's Mustipher who predominantly get beat here. Mustipher can't control his man at the point of attack, while Peters ends up just it's that he doesn't reach block him, which is hard. But even so, Bears ended up with 1 yard on the start of the game, and now because, like, goodness gracious, because I'm a big nerd and I like Justin Fields, now watching this play again, one thing that I always end up a little bit frustrated about when it comes to like how the Bears run outside zone is it feels unbelievably rare that the Bears run outside zone to the right and end up with a gain to the play side, right? So it feels incredibly unusual, all things told, where like, let's say the Bears are, you know what, I'll back it up a little bit and you guys can see what I'm talking about. Because I've seen this not just for like 6 games, or what is this, 8 games now? I've seen this for like a year and a half, where the Bears really like to run outside zone, but they don't ever really get the gain there, or there. Like, if they're running outside zone to the right, it feels as if, whether it's Montgomery or it's Herbert, they always want to end up hitting up the backside, almost like they're trying to get all of their yardage off of the defense overflowing and ending up clustered on that right-hand side and taking advantage of the backside space. Now, I am not an offensive line coach. Like, I don't know the ins and the outs of outside zone, because at the end of the day, what works. But it is interesting to watch on plays like this, where you end up where Jason Peters is going to try to make this reach block, and all you really want is Sam Mustipher. If he can get this guy moving to the right, just keep him moving to the right. Mustipher's not able to do that. In this case, he's even got control of him. You really would think he'd be able to get him over there, but he loses leverage as Montgomery tries to take that backside. Peters ends up having, is that Hayward? Yeah, that's one of their best players, 97, which isn't surprising. But it's definitely one of those that I look at, and it's always interesting, if nothing else, how rare it feels like those playside gains are. Like, you almost forget they're even possible because you stop looking on that side once you've watched these enough. Now, 2nd down and 9. What's the play call? The Bears got away from this in the second half, and good for them. Surprise, surprise, the offense really started working. But here, at the start of the game, with a running back that came like right off the injured reserve, it drove me nuts. They started with 2 runs, for crying out loud. I mean, now granted, I'm really nitpicking. Frankly, my Madden is coming out right now, where if you've ever watched me play Madden, I throw 35 times a game, and I run it like 8 times, and like 4 of those are in the first drive, and then I just forget you can do that for the rest of the game. That's an honest admission. But even so, the fact that they started with outside zone to the right, and then, you guessed it, outside zone to the right, kind of sent me as I was just sitting here watching this game, because I totally get it, right? You want to open up with a little bit of tempo. You're the 6th best rushing attack in football, whatever that means, in terms of just aggregate yardage. But even so, this turns 2nd and 9 into 3rd and 5, which is better, but it's still a 3rd down, and it's a long 3rd down at that. Not like, okay, it's a medium 3rd down, but it's not short, right? Generally speaking, I found this really interesting. Your targets are, I wish I could write better on this, but your target is 2nd and 5, and 3rd and 2. I thought that was really interesting when I saw this broken down analytically. That somebody was like, okay, so if you're not getting 5 yards on 1st down, you're behind the sticks. And if you aren't dealing with 3rd and 2 or less, you're behind the sticks. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, very, very achievable downs. Which isn't to say 3rd and 3 feels that much different, but 3rd and 4, okay, you know what? Defense is a little more room to work with. 2nd and 8, not exactly a victory on 1st down. But yeah, I found this really interesting. So at 2nd and 9, analytically speaking, the Bears have to get 7 yards to be efficient, and they don't. Like, running the ball, especially early in the game against a front that I would argue is better than them. Like, you've got Cam Hayward, you got TJ Watt, you got plenty of other bodies on that Pittsburgh front that are at least better than Larry Borum, or not Borum. I picked on the wrong guy. Then Sam Mustipher, Cody Whitehair's not playing particularly well. Like, the Bears' talent up front is not a let's grind them down Cleveland Browns offensive line. So now that Fields is finding himself, it sort of bums me out that they're still just down to run the ball quite like they are. And so they get 4 yards here. Again, not horrible, but in terms of like new school football, puts you a little bit of behind the sticks, and is not going to surprise you, which this one right here, let me see, just taking a look at what specifically happened, because, we want to break all this down as best we can anyways. Let's see here. Looks like Daniels can't quite get on the outside edge of his guy, which forces Montgomery up the field, as he should be in this case. But so, Mustipher seems like he's got control of his guy. Like, let's take a look here, because I can't actually remember what happens. I think it's just the backside. The backside of the play gets involved really, really fast. And, it's funny you mentioned the Scott, the smallest wide receiver on the field, chop blocking, because I actually don't necessarily think that Bird right here is all that problematic. The issue is that Robinson just can't get out there, because the Steelers have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. It's just a lot of bodies, right? This is one problem, if the only problem, if the biggest problem, with when you bunch up a ton of guys in the front, because what you've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people on the line of scrimmage with Mooney motioning out, and they're really hoping that 34 or someone is going to walk with him so that they can pull somebody out of the box, make it an 8-on-7, with the problem being that within this 8-on-7, Allen Robinson's somehow supposed to reach block 35, and he never gets there. Like, in this case specifically, Bird chips 56, which it's not a crazy good block, but you could make the argument it might be good enough, but 35's there to clean the play up. This is the song and dance. This is the interesting, what is it, like, it's the tango. It's the two-step of, like, offense versus defense, what these guys are trying to do, what they aren't, and so on and so forth, right? We'll get into more of that as we go. But so then, 3rd and 5, the Bears call maybe the one play that they feel like they call most often. It's like the Allen Robinson option route with a Cole Kmet inside slant on the back side, or like on the front side of it. So the idea is just to get 56 out of the way with this post route right here, and whatever they're able to do, right? Allen Robinson's just going to settle in the space that he can find. And the trouble is that on this first throw of the game, I tend to think Fields gets a little bit spooked by 55 triggering right down on Robinson right here. And so he ends up just dotting the ball a little further out than maybe he should. And it's not like Robinson was crazy close to the line to gain anyways. Like, a better throw might get the first down. But watching this, it was really funny how immediately, start of the game, from the All-22's perspective, you're going to see the whole Steelers defense line up at the sticks and just wait for the curls, wait for the stick routes, wait for the slants, right? The Steelers offense was not scared. The Steelers defense was not scared of the Bears. Like, they were not nervous about anything the Bears were going to do down the field. They had no problems with that. So when you see, in this case, Cole Kmet, come into the middle, he's covered up by the safety who's sitting there waiting for him. No, he's not. Safety ran straight underneath. There you go. But the linebacker's just sitting there waiting for Allen Robinson. They always had some kind of bracket right there. And yeah, Scott, I'm with you. Like, I'm surprised that Allen broke his thing off, or that he broke his route off as far back from the sticks as he did. Fields' throw wasn't that helpful. There are plenty of better plays. We don't need to be like, yeah, great play, Fields. Heck yeah, 3-yard gain on 3rd and 5. But overall, not a bad rep by the offensive line. It's a quick pass, so you're not expecting quick pressure. But hey, we all watched the Tampa Bay game. Like, it can get a lot worse than this. If anything, watch Larry's feet. So we didn't get any good looks at the run game. Those will come later. But Larry, off the snap, when it comes to his footwork, is able to get down the line just fine on TJ Watt, initiate, and It's not a hold. It's like right there on the line. Thank you so much, Ty. You are so kind. Any amount helps. Seriously, thank you so much. But so, like, taking a look at this, it's always cool watching tackles get off the snap, because you can see here, like, Larry's feet are under control. His center of gravity is is underneath him, and he doesn't get moved when Watt hits him. It's not like he's blown way backwards or something like that. He does a really good job, and he will continue to do a really good job of just keeping his weight underneath him, controlling his body, staying in front of the man, initiating with his hands where he can, and then just leaning on the guy to slow him down. Credit to what Borum can do. Thank you so much, Alex, for subscribing. Borum is a surprisingly good pass protector. I mean, you don't need to pick on PFF grades, but PFF gave him an 83.3, which is pretty high for them. Remember, 90 is considered elite. Nobody gets 100. Barely anybody, if anybody, gets a 90, period. But Borum got an 83.3 in true pass blocking reps, which for a 5th-round rookie offensive tackle, that's really good. That's really good. And so it is going to be really interesting to see what happens with Borum from here. I mean, one thing, Jordan, I know you mentioned run game is an attitude. The bright side about where Borum is that honestly he could continue to just not play well within the run game. It's passing league. You've got Justin Fields behind you. If you can get Borum out of the 5th round, pair him up with Tevin Jenkins, and Tevin Jenkins plays well, you're still going to have a decent run-blocking offensive line, all things told. So you would rather, at least in my opinion, I think you would rather take the pass blocker and develop him as an okay run blocker than take the run blocker and develop him as an okay pass blocker. But we will have to see. The jury is out. I just want to at least show some stuff off before then, because there's a whole lot of this stuff that we got a lot on our hands here. You guys know we can go we can and will go for hours. Thank you so much. Oh gosh. I see with the heat. Is that Rari? But so thank you so much for subscribing. Then moving on towards the Bears' next drive, and yeah, I know. Akusai, that comment about having the same grade on him, but, they waited rounds and rounds and rounds to take him was hilarious to me. But, hey, you take what you can get. 5th-round offensive tackle playing in his first year and playing decently against TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, you take it. But so, right here, Bears do not, I would tell you that this is the first ticky-tack call of the game. Akusai, we just talked about this, about, what it looks like at the end of the game. You're going to see Jason Peters get called for a false start that I see let go all the time. Now, does that mean it's not a false start? As a matter of fact, that isn't what I'm saying. Ball has barely moved and he's out of his stance. It's a false start. I've just seen so many left tackles get away with this kind of thing. I'm surprised they call it. I don't want to talk about refs tonight. I'm going to have to talk about refs tonight. It's not even being some Bears fanny Bears going to screw about our referees. There are a lot of calls that I just generally disagree with. But all sorts of left tackles, whether it's Jason Peters, whether it's David Bakhtiari, you mentioned him, Akusai. I saw Charles Leno do this all the time. Especially on away games, a lot of referees will sort of just let it go from the tackle's perspective, because believe it or not, for the most part, they are almost literally guessing as to when the guy's out of his snap, which I found really intriguing. But so, okay, John. Hey, that's cool. I totally hear you. Hearing that kind of thing helps me. That you caught the false start before the flag was thrown. Ooh, he's going to get Jason Peters, because it makes me feel better at the very least. But so, yeah, Bears get set back on their second drive immediately. But yeah, this game was so funny in terms of just how it worked out. So first drive of the game, run, Justin, go out there and get a 3rd and 5. And by the way, please be quick when it comes to telling me about internet things on what we're doing. It is storming in Dallas, Texas. So I'm not saying don't blame me. I am saying I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to power through the storm, right? But so now it's immediately 1st and 15, and the Bears run a nice little zone read action, doesn't let Justin Fields get hit. You got to love this kind of thing. Like, I love the fact that they're starting to really give Justin the freedom to pull the ball. It felt like he was not allowed to pull the ball in any case, right? Early in the season. Now he sees 90 crash down. He gets a lead block to take the scraper. So one thing, by the way, you can see the lightning in the background, I think, right there. It's not a Halloween decoration. So one thing defenses have done to counter the zone read is that they have what's called a scrape exchange most of the time, a scraper, right? Where number 90, Watt right here, is going to push down like the line of scrimmage, and they're going to have this linebacker come over the top to replace him. The idea is that instead of saying number 90 is wrong, instead of letting your offense target him, that they're going to shuck him down and bring the linebacker over so that, in fact, as a matter of fact, the offense can't be right. What the offense does here to get out and deal with it is that they pull I think it's Cole Kmet over as a lead blocker. So he's going to take on the scraper, and Justin Fields is just going to run with the ball. Now, should they have Cole Kmet take the backside guy? Maybe. Cole Kmet also could have run up, blocked the safety, given an edge, but that's a design thing. That's not on Cole, to be clear. Like, there is an aspect as Justin Fields continues to just play and play and play and play there and show just how fast he is recently. Like, you got to start thinking touchdowns instead of thinking about 4 yards or so on and so forth. But so I'm really intrigued to see what they do from here. Even so, Fields does a great job setting up his blocker. I mean, think about it this way. Watch Allen Robinson. He does just about nothing on this play, and Fields turns him into a willing blocker. Like, watch Allen Robinson really not move much from here. Like, in fact, he just gets shoved, but Justin penetrates up this lane before cutting right back around Robinson and creates a little pick for himself right there that he's able to use to extend the play about 5 yards. Fields is becoming a very, very polished open field runner. It's not that he wasn't at OSU. It's more to say that we didn't see it at some point. At least in my opinion, Blind Squirrel, I actually really disagree with you. I think weeks ago, I would have told you Fields looks slower than I would have expected, but recently I've seen Fields' speed pick up to that point that I would have wanted it to be at. So now I think it's 2nd and 8. And remember, Fields just fought through a false start. So with that in mind, this is where you're going to see, let me see. Oh yeah. Yep. It's exactly the one we all think it is. So this was, if you remember, where the Bears take an illegal formation penalty. Like, they have somebody shift from an illegal formation. So I don't know where they were. I'm not up to date on exactly what these on what the formation rules are. But the Bears switch out. This is their 2nd drive of the game. This is their 7th offensive snap, if memory serves. And immediately, they've now taken their 2nd offensive penalty on a play where Fields throws a really nice outside strike that would have been, what is that, up to there, would have been about 20-yard gain, right? And so they immediately get an illegal to legal formation flag, and this play is off the board. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys other than to say that Nagy's start was awful. Like, the coaching perspective of this, right? You've got the false start, which, hey, that happens. Honestly, I would love to pick on false starts as if it's coaching, but it's the fact that they then did all of this shifting stuff that the All-22 is immediately pointing out. Or not pointing out, it's actually cutting out a lot of the just shifting around that you could see on the broadcast where nobody had any idea where to be. Receivers are adjusting all over the place, which isn't that uncommon, specifically speaking, but it felt like the Bears barely knew where to line up. They needed to take a timeout coming out of one of these plays and immediately went back to, I think it was this one, where I get the impression that Fields just sort of threw the ball away. Let me take a look because I know they took a timeout around there, and I feel like that's important to the story here. So let's see. They took a timeout just for everybody's edification the moment that they picked up that gain on the ground. So they came out of the timeout and immediately took an illegal formation penalty. I mean, you can't make that sort of thing up. Like, it's wild to think, beyond poor discipline, Ryan, like, what is going on that after the timeout, they've got 60 seconds to talk over what their next play is going to be, and they come out to an illegal formation penalty. Are you kidding me? I mean, there is so much of this sort of thing, or this sort of stuff, that I feel like you look at, and there are enough reasons to be frustrated with Nagy to where you don't need Fields playing poorly or this playing poor, or like you don't need a lot of extraneous stuff. His horrific record out of timeouts is becoming my biggest go-to. Like, it's just hilarious watching Matt Nagy and his offensive staff try to scheme coming out of a timeout. I mean, it really is like handing a 17-year-old that just got his first copy of Madden and has never heard of football call a play. It's bananas. So then getting into it from here, it's like 3rd and 8. Fields takes a look downfield. It's a shot play. At least it seems that way. Maybe he just wanted the shot. Like, maybe you could criticize Fields for being over-aggressive here. But it sure seems like it's a called shot. Fields sees that. He's not open. Like, he's not going to be open. So he just launches the ball out because he's standing right on the goal line. I don't hate the decision. It's hard to tell with a lot of these things. Like, I could put on my critical glasses and say, what is it? We could do the power of freeze frame, right? We could be like, oh, look at Allen Robinson. He's 3 yards short of the line of scrimmage, but look at him. He's open. Throw the ball. I totally get it. Like, maybe he could fit the ball into Darnell Mooney on this slant, but it doesn't look like he's looking there. It looks to me like pre-snap he had plucked out Marquise Goodwin as an opportunity downfield that just doesn't come out. Like, it doesn't work out. And so he's not open. You would expect him to be at least closer to even with the corner. Not to mention the corner is playing beautiful coverage. He's got his eyes turned around. He's ready for the throw. So as Fields stands on the goal line with Larry Borum in his face right now, he just decides, yeah, I'm letting this thing go. And he puts it so far out, it bounces on the sideline over there that I think he threw it away. You see this a lot with quarterbacks that are in the pocket. You throw it at the receiver, but like, you don't place it near him, just close enough that you're not going to get called for it. But Daniels gets worked pretty good. Borum has one of his worst reps of the day there. And honestly, as Fields lets it go, interestingly enough, Peters' guy wraps around and would have hit him. So had he held onto the ball any longer, it's a sack, and not a good one, that puts the ball at like the 1 yard line. So if anything, you almost tip your cap to the way that Fields is slowly but surely developing, that on that, it's like second down, and a little bit, he's able to just get the ball out instead of risking a potential really bad play. But so, and yeah, you're going to see the occasional sorry about that. It's not that common, but I did have a little notification pop up in the middle of recording this. 3rd and 8, Fields does good to get the ball out of his hands. Like, he seems to be doing I don't want to call it like specifically, what's the word I'm looking for? Fields has a pattern right now. He's not looking through a crazy amount of reads. It's not anti-Fields. It's more that similar to what Fields likes to do at Ohio State, they'll give him one major route that needs some time to develop and 2 check down options, the flat or him running the ball. And a lot of it is him running the ball. Fields running the ball is clearly on the table at this point. And so when Fields takes a look and sees that, in fact, this corner shot is not open, he just takes his chances and starts to run the ball. As soon as he does, he realizes that this edge defender has all over him. So he flicks the ball out to David Montgomery, makes a really nice catch. Credit to him. Like, check out this one-handed grab by David Montgomery. Like, you could say at this point that, that Fields' placement isn't bad, because right here, while getting hit, he throws it to a clearly safe location, but Montgomery has only one hand to bring this in with, and he does. Just snares it right there. Like, that's fun. Dave Montgomery really is just a bag of, he's like a mystery box. Like, there are some things that you think you can't do, and then there he is carrying the pile like 8 yards downfield. He's so funny, because no matter how much I love Khalil Herbert, even as I watch Demo at all times, like, he's consistent in his blitz. Somebody pointed out that it's a really nice pocket. It totally is. I think the situation, 3rd and long, standing on the goal line, kind of gets the better of Fields in this specific moment. But that's just a guess, to be totally honest. not the strongest start by Fields, by the offense, by the coaching staff, but all of a sudden, memory serves, they are already down 7, and then they're giving the ball back. So, not the start that anybody wants as they go into this. Let me make sure. Yeah, they're definitely down 7. Oh boy. Incoming, if you remember the chronology of the game, incoming a pretty sad drive because it's almost fun. To me, it's the ones that are almost fun and end really badly that are truly the saddest of drives, but that's just my 2 cents of it. Bears run left, which seems to be the only location that they ever end up, successful. And, yeah, you did, Mike G. But so, they break a long one, and this might be the best blocked play that the Bears had just about all season. Credit to them. As things go, the Steelers really helped the Bears out, in my opinion. They did not make things hard for the Bears, and you'll hear that a couple times. I mean, let's see, the near fumble where they pushed Grant into the ball. Mike, we haven't seen that yet. We're slowly clawing our way through the first half. But so, Jack, we're going to talk through the Steelers offense later. I like to focus on one side of the ball and then immediately go to the other side of the ball. So right now we're going to be rolling through the Bears offense. But so it takes long enough as it goes. But so Bears get a really nice block here from Jesse James and Jason Peters with Cole Kmet sealing the edge out here. And I feel like the Steelers could have had their linebacker flow a little harder with this guy coming through the backside, but he didn't. He stopped up right here to try to play this gap, which I don't ever feel like Montgomery specifically threatened this one. So Montgomery ends up running through a wide open hole as that linebacker gets caught in traffic, and there he is off to the races. Like, there was a lot of things that you'll see with this Steelers defense. I mean, I thought the San Francisco defense played the Bears really, really well. The Tampa Bay defense obviously shut everything down, but seriously, like, watch this linebacker right here. But so, man, Jack, that's so unbelievably kind. Thanks so much for sticking around. Like, let's go through it. But so, you watch this linebacker, he's got the hole. Like, he's got it covered, but he gives it up for some reason to cut back into the middle, which maybe he feels like Montgomery's scouting report says he likes to ram it up the middle, but, I mean, the whole point of playing defense is that you got to have you got to trust your teammates, right? If you ever hear, like, trust your teammates, and you want to know what that looks like the fact that this backside linebacker has that hole covered, and this one stepped away from the hole. Montgomery gets a 28-yard gain through, tries to pinch back, can't, and gives up a huge gash that I would not tell you the Bears played it well so much as the Steelers defender made a big mistake, in my opinion. But so they get a gain. It is funny how that can happen, by the way. Not every gain is because the offense did something right. Sometimes the defense can just do something wrong. And I know as Bears fans, like, if you've watched your defense at all, you know what I'm talking about. Where sometimes defense, whether it's bad play call or so on and so forth, it's like, it can be rough, and thank you so much, Curtis. Like, that's super fun. I love the vibe, too. Immediately, the Bears follow it up with exactly what you'd expect, another run. Exactly, D. That's his gap, so it's just a mistake. There's no way that's his gap. Like, the backside linebacker has to be covering that, at least based on what I'm seeing. There's no reason he would be cutting back for it, but you get the idea. We will talk plenty about Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet is such an interesting person in this game. Like, watching it back, and I don't want to spoil what I mean by that, but this was such a funny game for Cole Kmet because he was wildly productive. Like, wildly productive. And you'll see how as we go through. But so, on this play, I don't know who I had it marked down as. Let me take a look at my cheat sheet. Let's see here. Yes, this was so funny. I thought so anyways. Pitt's alignment really, like, blows up this play because the Bears love to cut these balls up the backside. We've talked about that already. And from the backside, this is a very tough play for what is it? Cody Whitehair, who cannot get who gets Hayward on the ground. But Peters has to struggle with, Peters struggles with him. what is it? Mustafa gets in front of his guy, which tries to create the front side hole, but overall, it's just this massive mess of bodies. Oh boy. And so you end up with Montgomery, as usual, trying to win up the backside. A Steelers right there, falling over from dealing with Mustafa. And the front side hole was kind of there for once. The Bears just don't hit it, ever. And so I don't blame Montgomery for the decision-making. It's not like, come on, Monty, be better. It's more just funny to me as you watch through these that the Bears really do go up the middle from that exact side. The Bears go up the middle from those outside zone runs so commonly that that they end up using them as inside runs to some degree. But so, anyways, back to the game. Now it is, let's see, they just got the big one, and so now it's a 2nd and 10, or it might be like 2nd and 8, but you get the idea, 2nd and long. And no kidding, Curtis, Jason Peters is balling out for any age. And would you believe it? Would you believe it? Curl, 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 flat. I think these are so funny every time I see them. Like, there's the first one, right? You'll see plenty of them from here, but it is so funny watching this Bears offense sometimes where curl, 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 flat. I mean, just take a look. You'll see it work out the exact same way. I'm sure the Bears wanted to take advantage of the fact that the Steelers are running a whole lot of cover 3, and you can pay attention for that. Like, Steelers fans, Bears fans, the Steelers really liked to run a lot of cover 3 middle field close style defense, where occasionally they would have their safety sit out and threaten a potential cover 2, but even then they would often roll it right on back down into cover 3, cover 1. But so the Bears run curls so often that Fields here takes a look for Kmet, realizes he's covered. This backer did a really good job, by the way. He sticks to Kmet. Watt does a great job drifting to cover Robinson, which technically leaves the flat open, but Fields says, nah, screw the check down. I don't care. And just gets out, makes a play as an athlete, and picks up the first down. This was one of those conundrums that I feel like, as a Bears fan, you're going to have to answer for yourself what you think. I mean, the traditional quarterback, right? The Andy Dalton quarterback sees that TJ Watt has drifted and covered Allen Robinson, checks it down to Montgomery, and he takes what he can get. So do you trust the ball more in this setting in Montgomery's hands with this timing right here, gets the ball there, returns upfield, or do you trust the ball in your quarterback's hands? And Justin Fields clearly trusts it in his own hands. Whenever he gets that gap up the middle, he takes it. It's kind of like watching Mitch from back in 2018. He's just fairly fearless over the last 2 weeks in taking that gain, especially because, truth be told, Mustafa tends to get beat so often that the way that you can make Mustafa getting beat one way or another, because obviously you have to go over one of his shoulders, right? As a defensive lineman, you're either going to cut over that side of Mustafa's shoulder or, more commonly, that outside shoulder. Well, this opens up a running lane. So as you take it from there, you just race on out, and Fields becomes the check down, breaks a tackle from a defensive lineman, beats this linebacker in just an open field foot race. 34 should have a really good angle on Fields, but Fields shows his athleticism and gets the yardage that he needs as he rolls from there. I mean, like, massive kudos to the athleticism that Fields can display. I have not seen this kind of play in his Rolodex, like, up to this point, but he wins so many foot races in this play alone. This guy, who are in front of him, and he beats them for the yardage that he needs to get a first down. I mean, it's not like put him in the Hall of Fame. I just want to call out that there's more to being fast and what it means, like, what you're giving up. He's giving up the check down. He's giving up Dave Montgomery, the boring throw, where maybe Montgomery could make a play, to instead take his chances, and he converts a first down, which, hey, that's what you want. And as long as he's able to continue getting results, certainly was able to in this game and last game, you take it. But that's my opinion. Now, here comes, I would say, Fields' first big true mistake of the game, right? Because what they're going to do, they're going to run a basic bubble action RPO with a post right behind him. So he's going to kick out right there, and Atheist, I would probably not play that game here, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, so getting back to it, the Bears are going to run an RPO that focuses on this guy right here. If he attacks the flat, then throw right behind him. And if he falls back on the curl, throw it to Allen Robinson. The trouble is, Fields pulls the ball on an RPO, chooses neither because he wants that bigger throw, sets to throw immediately to Goodwin, but Goodwin's covered. So he thinks about Robinson. You could see it right here. I have no idea why he doesn't throw it, but the instant that he doesn't, maybe it's because 95 was in his kitchen. I get it, but you can throw these things so quickly that rush should almost not matter. As soon as he breaks this tackle, it's a sack. I mean, like, maybe he works some miracle play over there. That's kind of what he thinks about for a second, but when you pull an RPO and you take a sack, that's 100%. That's 100% on the quarterback. And that doesn't mean that because he took a sack, he instantly sucks. Like, when you look at Fields' what would you say, his vices, he's going to deal with taking sacks, more sacks than he should, all the time. Like, that's going to be his problem, in my opinion. But so that's a play that I know I looked at and thought, you definitely don't want to deal with those. If anything, the more I've watched Fields, at least in the NFL, I don't think he particularly likes RPOs. I don't think he's as good at RPOs as, frankly, even Mitch was back in the day. I mean, there are a lot of quarterbacks that really victimize people on RPOs. Nick Foles sticks out, especially back in like 2017. Andy Dalton was really good on RPOs. But in these cases, like, you got to get that ball out. You got to immediately take a look right here. You could even just wrist the ball to Allen Robinson. All you're looking for is a completion and 2 or 3 yards. Not much. But so, as soon as he keeps it, that's a sack. That's on the quarterback. Thank you so much for subscribing. Was that Kenny Canuck? Nicky Canuck. But so, thank you so much. Reinhard, great to see you. But so, yeah, not what you want right there, but that's how it goes. So, anyways, moving on. We've got now this one, you tell me. Like, I want to have a bunch of analysis. Like, I want to have a bunch of analysis on this, but I've watched this a bunch of times, and this is a throw that happens so commonly in the NFL. I mean, it's basic curl route, right? Curls, Nagy, all the time, so on and so forth, but I originally thought that Fields threw this ball a little bit low. Hayward just makes a great play getting into the passing lane, and maybe you could say something about, what would you say, let's see, oh, no kidding, Reinhardt. Which podcast episode? Anyways, I'll have to go take a look. Back to it. So Fields takes a throw right here, and he throws it to where Mooney's obviously going to be. Seems to throw it low to try to get it around that area where he can just catch the ball and fall over. But instead, he throws it straight into Hayward. And I agree, Jordan. I mean, what I hate doing, and what I'm not going to do here, is absolve the quarterback, right? I'm not going to immediately just go, oh, Fields is fine. This happens. It's no big deal. You can't fluke out every single interception that Fields throws. I think he's got to potentially pull off of that. He's got Kmet if he wanted to not take the timing throw and just check it back the other way. There are other decisions he could make, but hot dang, this one's so fast, right? It is so bang, bang, all things told, where Fields takes the snap, takes a look at the safety, shifts over here, looks at Mooney, 100% Jordan. This is a big FU to the offensive line when you're jumping up right there. Not to be all, what is the word, hard-nosed here, but most of the time, if your defensive lineman is jumping up in the air and you let him pull that ball down instead of just hitting him right here, you don't have control of your offensive lineman. But hey, it's also Cam Hayward up against Sam Mustipher, so what did we expect, right? But so he lets this ball go, and and it gets picked off by a defensive lineman. Obviously, Fields owns stock in the interception, but so let's see here. Yeah, I'm with you, Reinhardt. I do think he's got to know the rushing lanes right here. He's got to take a look at where the rushers are going. That's definitely something that, as an analyst, I know I need to improve on, is just being able to call that out, because again, the throw to Cole Kmet is just wide open, especially as soon as he sets his feet to throw right here. 93 leans in. Had he rechecked over to Kmet, I'm almost 100% certain he can get it there. But this was one of those, watching it live, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Watching it back, I was like, what do I even say about this? So I think the answer is, oh, no kidding, you're right. Let me fix that. That's a good call out. Let's see. Where is the chat box? Because it's there. I don't think I got rid of it. Wonder what's going on. Let's see here. Font settings. So on and so forth. Let me see. What if I just hit done? There's no way, right? Oh, I think that worked. Alrighty. But so, yeah, Rad, it feels like that. His one-step drops feel like long one-step drops. Reinhardt, I wasn't seeing him pop up. But so, if he met the right side of the stream, it wasn't. But anyways, we got it fixed now. So, Bears are in a hole. And they immediately the hole gets worse, too. And credit to Cam Hayward. There's nothing at any point. Sometimes I think we fans can forget to go, that's a really good player. Cam Hayward is a really good player. And so, credit to him for making that play. But definitely one that you want back if you're Justin Fields. And so, not good. Bears are down 14-0 at this point, and they open up this drive with a run play that does not go well. And would you believe it? We finally got our first... Now, I'm going to say this, the pass blocking, I think Borum is quickly speaking for himself. But whenever you hear me talk about Borum in the run game, this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where you're going to see he's got the opportunity to cut off 95, and he just gets his hands on him, doesn't get almost any push at all, isn't in front of him. This guy runs straight through and punches him out. But so... Oh, thank goodness, Roquan. That's legit, by the way. Cool to hear that sort of update can go through. But so watching this kind of exact play, exactly, Kusai, Borum's got to get more on his guy. I'm not the OL technician, but I can tell you Borum doesn't seem to transfer his power well in the run game. In the passing game, his power kind of comes from the fact that he is the immovable object. But in the run game, it's almost like the immovable object is struggling to move, and that's the issue. Where even James Daniels, who I don't think is a particularly huge man in the world of offensive line, but Jason Peters, who's massive, is able to get more footwork and into his power area, and James Daniels is able to get more power out of a smaller frame than Borum is able to do either. Now, I think a lot of it is just being a rookie, truly. But so there is some of this stuff that I think can get better with time, but it makes sure that let's see. Oh man, Jack, that's unbelievably kind. My hope is to get to more than just the Bears eventually, but we got to start somewhere, right? So while I've got the time at this standard, at this point in my life, I'll stick to just this team. But yeah, I mean that's certainly my hope. But Borum ends up 2 up right there, and then Fields. Oh my gosh, this play was bad. Fields did not open up well either. We could pretend that Fields was playing super great. We could pretend that it was all Matt Nagy's fault, but this throw is open. It should be better, and instead, he almost gets Marquise Goodwin hurt. I mean, these are exactly the kinds of plays that any quarterback at any level will tell you you've got to make, or you've got to put this throw on the body, on the break. You're coming out of a post route with a safety in cover 3 right here. You've got to fit that ball to where it hits him right between the numbers, because At this stage, like, you leave your receiver reaching out like that, he is vulnerable. This is the whole defensive receiver concept, and Fields leaves Marquise Goodwin completely defenseless here on second down. Like, I want to sit on this one purely because not only is it a miss, Mike G, it's also a bad miss. It's not a miss over the guy's head. It's not a miss over the guy's back shoulder. This is a miss that gets people hurt. This is bad. And I agree with you, Case. I mean, if it was A-Rob, it's a catch. But at the same time, I mean, Guzai says it pretty well. Like, if that's Kyle Fuller, the guy's just about dead. Like, there are harder. Dawson Province, thank you so much for jumping in. But so there are a lot of situations where the guy just smokes Goodwin, and honestly, you could make the argument that Goodwin got off pretty light right here. Brian, thank you so much for your donation. You have no idea how helpful that is. Atheist, thanks so much for jumping in. Thanks for sticking around, honestly, because you're a Packers fan, right? Like, I respect the heck out of any Packers fans willing to sit with us and talk Bears. There's a lot here, and not all, like you're seeing, not all of it's good. We can talk about it, but I think Fields is a better player than you're giving him credit for. At least his rookie journey has seemed like it started to really move up, and that's what you're looking for. This pass, bad. Objectively bad. Not good. And so, like, that's definitely one of those that I know you saw early on, and it's like, whew, not playing well on Monday Night Football. I do not like this. And so Fields then kills. It's like 3rd and 11, and I can't quite remember here. Oh yeah, this is one of the most interesting plays of the game, I think. So everybody, we're all going to get to make our own call. So Fields checks into a play that looks like this, right? Where you end up with Cole Kmet running a post and Montgomery running an angle. And the only thing Fields is really going to take a look at is this post right here. He wants to see, what he's looking for is he's seeing a cover 2 front right here when he kills it. Sure. And so let's get there in just a second. Fields takes a look at this cover 2 lineup and thinks, okay, well, if they drop into a cover 2, then I want Cole Kmet to post right up the middle. And if we get that, like, we're going to be able to convert this. And if not, I'll figure it out. So halfback angle with David Montgomery, the post to Cole Kmet is exactly what he's looking for, which immediately gets blown up. Immediately when the safety rolls. So as soon as 34 rolls, this safety sits right in the middle. It's not like Fields doesn't see it. If you watch him, he drops back, thinks about the angle route, but he's like, nah, this play's over. So he immediately gets out of the pocket because what he sees is a lot of green grass with guys moving to his right. So good. I mean, it's 3rd and 11. He's got to get this, or he's got to get his, if he can get out here, sorry for stuttering over myself, then he'll have a ton of space. So maybe you pick up the first down. I don't blame a quarterback as mobile for Fields ever taking the obvious stuff right there. The trouble is that then when once Fields gets out of the pocket, so here he is with what do you guys think? A 4-yard bubble around him? Thank you so much, Jack. Unbelievably kind. Kmet curls around with both defensive backs crashing down on him, and Kmet is wide open. Bare naked open. Piccolo, thank you so much for donating. You have no idea how kind that is. But so Fields is well behind the line of scrimmage right here. He's got the time to loft a 35 yard ball over the defense's head. The question is, chat, do you think at full sprint it's possible for a quarterback to flick the ball 30-ish yards downfield? Honest question. Nate Tice doesn't think so. And Nate's a smart dude who's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, just about. I think Fields can do it. I think he can. And I don't blame Fields, again, look at the grass, right? He's got a ton He's got a ton of room to run into. But at the same time, if I got to choose, I would love, like Mike G is saying, in this moment, I don't mind that Fields doesn't throw it. It's not like I hate it one thing or another, right? Like, either way, it's not a bad play. I mean that. Like, Fields got out of the pocket, saw the space he had to run, and took his chances to just try to get the yards he could here on third down. But if I was John DeFilippo, I would turn this play on and say, dude, you take a look downfield, you flick the ball, and it's 7 of 14, and your highlight is everywhere. Like, the beauty of this is that even as he's, like, at full sprint, right? Full sprint, it's not that long a throw. Kmet is standing about 23 yards downfield, and every relevant defender, all of them, right, have attacked. So you could put the ball here, which is not that far. You could have Kmet just sit under it, and he might just score anyways. Like, that's where I look at it. We'll take a look from behind the camera right here. But early on in this game, I mean, like, Jordan, I know you talked about the shoulder drop. If anything, I almost wish you would have said, it's like, run out of bounds. But I desperately don't want him to get hurt. So there's so much of that stuff that, exactly like you're saying, you can't just let Minkah Fitzpatrick just about kill you. To Kusai's point, he's carrying the ball like a runner 100% of the way. So it would have probably been a task to pull the ball back out and throw it. But as he becomes, and no, Ryan, it's not a head-to-head hit. Or, well, like, you get the idea. But so as he gets as he grows as a quarterback, I would love to see him, whether it's carrying the ball like Kusai, whether it is, and yes, Shondell, it is third down. But so as he grows, I mean, he just ran for 100 yards against, so I thought this was cool, right? Lamar Jackson recently eclipsed 100 yards for the 10th time in his career, which instantly tied up the record with Michael Vick's whole career, which immediately I got really interested in, right? Think about this for a second. Justin Fields has a 100-yard rushing game against San Francisco. That is 1/10 of the most most 100-yard rushing games by a quarterback ever, which isn't to say, right, that, oh, incredible. It's more to point out that 100 yards rushing is a big feat as a quarterback, like, in the league. And so the defenses around the league are going to start picking up on it. I mean, I point that out to say that one thing Fields could recognize, because like you guys are saying in the chat, I do think Fields has basically been coached at this point. Dude, if you want to run. Like, don't hesitate. Don't think too hard. Just go. Play fast, right? But as Fields grows and as Fields gets better, he does need to recognize his legs are going to draw attention. And when he draws attention, like, you've got the ability to pass the ball. As soon as he sees this play, I mean, I'm sure somebody's already talked to him about it by now. They're a professional football organization. That had he gone full sprint with the ball, where's my football? Held it like this, basically, sprinting as fast as he can at least have the option to think about throwing it, let alone potentially pump faking it. I get it. He did a lot of that stuff in the, He did a lot of that stuff in the Raiders game, and he wasn't as fast. A whole lot of the reason he started tucking the ball is because he can just bust it and run as fast as possible. But figuring out how to create conflict is exactly the sort of thing that I look at. Like you're saying, Case, with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes does it all the time. You put the defenders in conflict, and then you throw over them or you beat them with your legs. Blind Squirrel, I don't think he quite has time to stop and run and throw, because he's got 90 and 58 on his back, and he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. But I definitely would point out that, like, this play was an interesting one, if only because he is absolutely wide open. You're right. Look at Allen Robinson. I hadn't noticed that. Allen's like, yo, look at Kmet. But create that conflict, and as a quarterback, he can get even better than he showed from the 291-yard stat total. But interesting one, if nothing else, because I like the quick decision. It's a lot better than the Fields we saw against the Cleveland Browns, for sure. But an opportunity, and somebody pointed this out already, but I don't love the fact that Fields neither ran the guy over, right? Like, he neither tried to crush Fitzpatrick, nor did he try to avoid the contact. Instead, he just got blown up. he got annihilated. He's well short of the sticks too. Like that's one of those that I'm like, you gotta ask for that. But so, just my 2 cents, right? I would love to see either try to juke him and go down or step out. But, you get the idea. And exactly, D-Wilk. Like, that somebody asked me earlier, they were like, what rookie season do you see him emulating? And that's always hard, right? Because as we let some stuff play right here, Ace, thank you so much. Do I think Greg Roman would be a good option? I think to say he'd be a bad option is to be kind of blind, honestly, to who Roman's been throughout his career. I don't think Roman would try to turn like Fields into Lamar Jackson. I don't think Roman's my top choice, but to say that Roman is a bad option is to ignore what he did in Baltimore. It's to ignore what he did in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. Like, Roman has a track record of not only good offensive coordination, but good offensive coordination with all sorts of different quarterbacks. I don't see why that would just dissipate if he came to Chicago. But as a lot of people have before me said, there is a point when you stop thinking about your coach as your offensive coordinator, right? So I don't know. Like, I would love to trust it to the guys who are in the interviews, but I don't. I don't trust. I don't trust George McCaskey at all. So there you go. Yeah, Roquan, I'm definitely more of a Dabble guy myself. Not because of the passing yards, not because of the rankings, but because of just the passing, like, purism. Dabble loves to pass. He will live and he will die by passing. And I like that. But Dabble's also, honestly, just speaking very bluntly, Dabble's your best chance at getting another Nagy. Like, seriously. Dabble is your best chance at ending up with another guy who calls plays. He's streaky in his play calling. You don't know, did Josh Allen just get good, or did Dabble develop him? You tell me. There is a whole bunch of that stuff that I look at, and it's like, honestly, if the Bears hired Roman, I think that they would be good, period. If the Bears hire Dabble, they could be great, or they could be right back here in a couple of days, in a couple of years. I honestly think Dabble's the biggest swing, but he comes with real risk. Like, that's my personal opinion. But so anyways, oh, look at that. We waited so long, we ended up back here. So for the people who aren't huge fans of Justin Fields, if we have any of those in the chat, these are exactly the kinds of plays, honestly, that as a rookie, you're like, holy crap, that's a gorgeous throw. And there are a lot of these, but like when Fields sees what he needs to see, he is starting to make quick trigger decisions and place the ball just beautifully. I mean, rolling left at this point, turns around, immediately spots the target downfield, sets one quick tap, throws, bang, right on the guy's face. It's a perfect catch. It's not a perfect catch, it's a perfect ball, all things told, to start a drive off. And it leaves Kmet plenty of time to get his feet back in, and he steps out of bounds. Now, the question becomes, and I don't say this to start a fight, I need you guys to ask yourself what you want to see, right? Like, what do you want to see from your tight end? Do you want to see your tight end creating crazy separation? Or do you want to see your tight end running into wide open space? Wide open space. I could have gotten open on this route, which is not me criticizing Kmet. It's more me saying that where Kmet's production is going to come from is wide receivers getting so much attention that he's just left holy crap open. You know what I mean? Like, this takes advantage of the fact that Kmet's got pretty fast foot speed, honestly. Like, he's not super fluid in the hips. Kmet is not the guy to run a stop and go route, but you ask him to run in a straight line, he can do that. And so he does here. He gets plenty open, makes a nice catch, and the Bears pick up, God, what is that? They were at the 50, ball goes over there, so they pick up about 25 yards. So this was without a doubt, Kmet's most productive game. Like, without a doubt. Did Kmet beat anybody? Not really. Did he make heady plays and capitalizing on what he needed to? Yes, of course he did. So the question becomes, what are you looking for in a tight end? Like, Pat Freiermuth, I thought, ran some phenomenal routes. Pat Freiermuth may not block as well as Kmet, especially once Kmet has really found himself. He's honestly, like, Kmet is a big dude, and he's a lot younger than I think people will remember he is sometimes. Tight end's also a notoriously long position to develop. I'm not actually trying to make the case that Kmet's going to be an ultra star. I'm more just trying to say that, like, I don't know if we're done with Kmet's development yet, especially given that I get the impression Kmet will make the occasional mental mistake in the running game a little bit more than a lot of other people. But on a play like this, like, you're stoked about what he can do for you. He gets wide open. I agree with you, Atheist. I think this is bad defense. I think he gets caught. Sam, great to see you. Like, this looks like, from what I can tell, a cover 3 drop, and 20 doesn't drop off. Like, I don't know what 20 thought he was seeing, but it's very unusual to me to see this corner playing what looks like cover 3, right? And this safety sitting in the middle of the field, and this, it must be because he was up on the line and thought it was a run. Like, it must be that he just bit the play action fake crazy hard, right? And just bit down, ended up completely out of position. Like, let's watch right here. Yeah, he bites the run fake hard. What Graham is doing is basically just a quick block in and then kick out to the flat. So this basically just sets you up with Kmet wide open downfield and Graham out in the flat passing the guy off. But so, like, Kmet gets the ball, gorgeous throw by that. But yeah, this whole tight end discussion, because like Jordan's talking about, I do think that there are a lot of people that are like, I want Trey Burton from 2018. I don't blame you. That is a very specific tight end. Like, that's much more in the Eric Ebron, so on and so forth. And if that's how you're grading, like, if that's who you're grading Kmet against, Kmet will never look good enough because he's not trying to be that guy. Like, that's a very different human being. So that's the sort of player that I would love to see the Bears pair with Kmet one of these days, but it's not who he's going to be. Kmet is going to be more like that. I think somebody said it, like, what's the word? Like, he's going to be that Kyle Rudolph 1.5. I haven't watched enough Rucker to be like, that's him, but it wouldn't surprise me, Jordan. Like, he is, right now, Kmet's on pace to the world's worst 500-yard season, right? If you ask some Bears fans, they'd be like, he busted his way to 500 yards in a year, right? And so I think that's funny at this point. And thank you, Anthony. I mean, I agree. Who am I saying thank you for? It's not like I designed the play. It is a well-designed play. It's pretty basic, like a play action shot or like a play action post out concept. 100%. Like, the Bears run a ton of stuff that's not that complicated, truth be told. Like, they run almost their entire offensive game plan through outside zone at this point. Like, they take play action shots pretty much when you'd expect them to. 50% of their offensive play calls or their passing calls are just curls, right? Here, it's white hair that can't keep his guy moving quite forward enough, which exposes the backside of the play, and the Steelers clamp down on it. Credit to him. Jimmy Graham makes a particularly funny block over here. But, like, there, he goes down, he eats the Daniels call. Like, look at that. So, like, we got Jimmy Graham, who's going to immediately try a cut block, and he does not get it. And so 56 is wide open to make the play. Yeah, it is. He's Jimmy's special. Oh, man. But so, the goofy part about this drive is that the Bears turn a 28-yard gain at the midline into a punt scenario. Like, so everybody that I've talked to, because I thought this was ridiculous at first, right? Bryson, I would at least negotiate with James Daniels. Depends on what he wants to get paid. Bears don't have a ton of money, but if he wants to stick around for affordable dollars, I don't see why not. Why create a hole that you got to replace? But you get the idea. Anyways, when I first watched this play, I thought Brian Griese was ridiculous, right? Brian Griese talked about how this was a quarterback failure. He was like, you got to know what the guy's doing on the backside. And I was like, this is weird. Like, what do you mean he's got to know what he's going on the backside? That you crazy, honestly. Like, that's bananas. That can't be the quarterback's fault. But then I listened to JT O'Sullivan, right? And what he talked about was you've got to be ready for the worst. Like, this is basically the gist of what the Bears are doing, because I can't quite remember what they're doing, like, down the field. I think they run, Allen Robinson out, and then they get Darnell Mooney out here, and he crisscrosses with an attempt to try and, like, catch this corner in a bind, basically. But so I don't think it's on Laser, Ryan. I actually think it's on Fields. Like, what the Bears are doing is that they've got Kmet sifting across, and then he's going to pop into the flat. And if you take a look at the way the play is designed, Kmet's wide open. Like, he's way over here, right? He is wide open. You get Kmet the ball, he's running. I wouldn't say he's still running, but he picks up like 13 yards. The trouble is that, let's see. Oh, yeah, Shane, no kidding. The trouble is that Fields seems legitimately surprised that Watt's right on his face. And don't get me wrong, like, sure, exactly like everybody's saying in the chat, ideally you want this guy getting sealed, but somebody as fast as Fields is, because I think we can all agree he's fast, if he fakes that handoff and jets immediately backwards, right? He keeps the worst case scenario in his mind. Instead of curling right into Watt's path, jets straight backwards to figure out where Watt is and then deals with him, he would be able to get the ball to the flat. It's not that complicated, even if you're way back here, to throw to there, right? So it's not as if, like, Jordan, I'm repeating JT's words, and JT was in the league so often that that's the thing, atheist. Like, I hear you guys, but JT was a quarterback for years. He's unbelievably fair to people. I'll trust him and Brian Greasy lining up their opinions on this and say that's not something I would have thought was Fields' fault, but I guess it is. Like, so I mean, I'm with you, Ace. Like, there's a reason that the Bears don't call a single naked play action for the rest of the game. Like, there's a reason the Bears seal every other edge rusher anytime they do play action for the rest of the game. They don't want to put Fields in the bind, right? But when two former professional quarterbacks go, that's on the quarterback, what am I supposed to say as somebody who did not play the position at the NFL, right? That's where I'm at. As much as anything else, I'm repeating things. But so, like, yeah, you get the idea. I'm sure. I mean, I get it. I've seen people run tons of naked bootlegs. Mitch used to run them all the time. The gist at that point is if you run straight backwards and then curl, you're able to get a sharper angle on, on Watt, and basically just ditch the ball. And that's your whole goal for the play. But Fields doesn't, curl straight into him. I don't think he expected Watt to be right up in his face. I mean, what is this? Matt Nagy at this point, I think he was quoted as saying, as soon as he saw Watt's first step, he was like, and this play's over. So they're like, not a good one either way. And Anthony, you probably, I mean, I don't know. That really is one of those things where I look at it and I say, everybody else is saying it's on the quarterback. I wouldn't have expected it to be on the quarterback using logic, but Watt makes a great play, jets straight back to Justin Fields, and displays the scary part about the Bears being too predictable. Like, because they get greedy and put four receivers out into space, which, normal stuff, they end up eating alive the fact that the Bears pretty much only hand the ball off or run play action out of under center snaps. So I'll give 2 thumbs up to TJ Watt. Say he did a great job. I mean, Akusai, it's more than like Watt reading the play perfectly. Watt just guesses the pitch, Like, this is like watching a middle linebacker sitting fastball. Watt does not care about the backside run. Watt does not give a crap about Khalil Herbert in this case. He's jetting straight for Justin Fields and never made two ways about it, right? So I wouldn't know. Like, truly, I would tip my hat, and you generally want, I would think the same thing, Case, that you could make the argument it's on Fields for seeing TJ Watt. unblocked on the edge and not checking out of it. But yeah, I mean, people call naked boots really all the time. Like, to say that it isn't, or to say that, like, this would be abnormal or unusual would be to, honestly, not have watched enough other teams, which is fine. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, like, Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill's called on these all the time. Like, tons of quarterbacks are getting just rolled out with nobody there. Mitch Trubisky got rolled out with nobody there so often. Andy Dalton got rolled out with, like, nobody next to him. And like you're saying, Jordan, I mean, defenses are just going straight after the quarterback because what are you going to get? And so I would look at this and say sometimes sacks do happen. The other one that we've seen so far, definitely on Fields' I would say on Fields' plate. But this one, I don't. You tell me. Like, there are bigger mistakes than getting smoked immediately off of, like, the play's kryptonite. But then here's okay, so what is this? It's like 2nd and 21, and I think, if memory serves, the Bears commit a penalty. Yep. So this is where they have an illegal man downfield penalty, and what you probably didn't see, like, in this case, is that this is a screen, which struck me as weird at first. But if you watch all of the wide receivers, right? This is Jakeem Grant's one offensive snap of the game, which I think makes it even funnier, because if you take a look at all 4 of the Bears' other receiving options, watch what they do. Like, this play is funny to me because you forget that this is a screen people call sometimes, but, like, all 4 of these guys are just setting up to block so that Jakeem Grant can come over onto the other side, cut straight through the middle, catch the ball, and just run as far as he can. That's what it is. The trouble is that Fields sees Jakeem Grant get jammed on the line of scrimmage and immediately bails out of it. I actually think he's being a little impatient, personally. Like, Grant's still open, screen's still there, and it's not like anybody ended up downfield. But Fields bails out. James Daniels thinks, it's a screen, I'm good to go, ball's out, and ends up so far beyond the line of scrimmage that, of course, it's illegal man downfield. And so he slips the ball to Grant, and from, an improvisation play, I'm glad he found him. But this I definitely thought it was funny, like, watching this, where you don't realize on the broadcast this is a screen. Like, this is, I don't want to call it a tunnel screen. It's not a tunnel per se, but, like, if you watch the running lane on what's intended, it's supposed to be Grant catching the ball and just running, finding a lane somewhere. Chances are, based on the defensive formation, like, I would say Kmet's supposed to get up on this guy's inside, Mooney's right there, and Grant takes this ball, runs upfield, and who knows what he gets, but that's the design. And so when Fields bails out of it, the play kind of dies. And so, yeah, goofy one overall. But goofy in the sense that Fields makes a decent play, but Grant gets jammed like crazy. Grant gets blown up on this one. Like, he gets hit. Okay, that did not make it look pretty hard. Maybe it wasn't like blown up, but he comes out of this slowly. Like, you want a different timing, obviously, but he takes 2 steps, gets bumped pretty thick, or maybe at least he makes it look like it, right? But exactly, Case. I would want him to step up, get the ball out. Like, not a good play on Fields' part, in my opinion. Probably a little too quick on that decision-making trigger, in my opinion. But yeah, not blown up, stonewalled. I think Fields checks out of this a bit quicker than he would have liked to, and now it's 3rd and 26, right? 3rd and 21 becomes 3rd and 26 awfully quickly, or 2nd and 21 becomes 2nd and 26. This is where you wish that you had the nice little yellow line sometimes, because now I have to remember. So 2nd and 26, they run. Is it 3rd down? No, it was 3rd. My instincts were correct. I apologize, everybody. But so, 3rd and 26, Fields takes a shot downfield, and I hate this. Like, honestly, I really do. I'm not trying to be overly pessimistic. There's a lot that we're going to talk about with Justin Fields because he really puts it together in the down the back stretch of this game. But if I was the coach, I mean, you started on the 55, right? You are now at the 40. You want the field goal, right? I mean, the Bears are going to run 4 verts, so they're going to get Cole Kmet in this file. What is that? Looks like Bird and then A-Rob down here. So it's just 4 verts. But if you think about what the goal of these 4 verts plays are, Akusai, you want to check this down. Like, the goal of this kind of 4 verts play is to just get the whole defense to move back. And would you believe it, there's Montgomery sitting on the 38. And if you feed him the ball and he breaks 1 tackle or even just moves a little this way, so maybe you throw him to the ball on the hash line, yeah, he'll get the 30. Like, no problem. Maybe he'll even get the 28 and so on and so forth. It's just a clear out for David Montgomery. But so instead, Fields thinks that he can fit a crazy window right here to Cole Kmet, and he must have bailed out of it in the middle of it or just missed his window because that ball ends up way over the top. Like, Fields is the Fields that we have seen is truly too accurate on this kind of play, like, to have missed by that far. The Fields' intentional throws versus his unintentional throws have a very different accuracy reading to him. It looks like he threw this away, but he didn't need to. Like, I still find myself wondering, I wonder what they told him in this case. When he does miss Atheist, you're right that he misses high, but generally speaking throughout this season, Fields' deep attempts have looked a lot crisper than that. And Ace, you're totally right. Like, he gets the same window later and he makes the crazy throw, but Montgomery right here kicking out, like, you can go get your first points of the game. 4 verts is halfway called for checkdowns in the first place, right? Like, I heard this. I thought this was wild. This, by the way, coming from JT O'Sullivan, he said 50% of 4 verts goes to the checkdown. Like, 50% of it, you're just going right there. And so I would take it if I was him. Like, this is one of those where I think he just gets too aggressive. He must have told himself that for some reason he thought he could, and therefore he needed to pick up the first down. But I think you're allowed, after an ineligible man downfield, to play for the field goal. Like, get down the field, go get some points. Like, and go from 0 to 14 to 3 to 14. So I would tell you, what is it, Anthony? You said a couple bad reads in a row. I think that some of those are being really critical, to be totally fair, like finding the guy deep on full sprint and so on and so forth. But that one I do think was problematic. The Jakeem Grant one, I think the screen he bailed out on a little bit early. I think that, yeah, it's not like he ends up making it up later in the game for sure, but like John's saying, Fields not using his checkdowns, not only does it seem like it will be a thing, John, but it's one thing that I hope he sort of can take a deep breath. He doesn't need to hit the home run of home runs every time he drops back to pass, but that's just an early observation, because I think sometimes he can forget, not even trying to be some kind of a Bears homer here, but like, Dave Montgomery in space is a dangerous guy. Like, when you get one of your best players in space, like in the if you could get number 32 the ball with this much room running right, with this DB's watching the play, this DB's watching the play fading backwards, this DB is honestly too far to matter. Like, this is one of those where, like, just to pick on to use the Packers for a second, it's like Aaron Jones level of danger. Like, you want 32 to have the ball, and who's to say he's going to get 26 yards? That's not the point. The point is that he can get within the 30 and give Cairo Santos, his kicker, a chance to at least start picking back the lead, because what's the chance you're going to get 3rd and 26 to convert? But you get the idea. Like, there's a lot to Fields' game overall. We've seen a lot of the down, both from Bears' scheme and, honestly, some mistakes that Fields has made. He made some solid plays to open up the game, but it's like he got into a funk along with his offense. And the fact that the Bears go from that beautiful, gorgeous throw to open up the drive to punting is ghastly. Like, there is something that you will go, come on, coaching, what are we doing here? Because coaching isn't a fault for everything, but the mentality that the Bears had the chance right there to pick things back up and didn't get it is a huge bummer. But so, anyways, moving on. Let's go to 27:55, where, and for those who didn't watch the game, if you didn't watch the game, yeah, no kidding, Case, it really is beautiful. But so, this is where the Bears start using the Wildcat. It makes its first appearance. The Wild Bear, if you want to call it. What's really weird, honestly, borderline cowardly, right? But so you make the call. One of the weirdest part of, let me see. What did you say? Do I what during these live streams? Calf? Are you trying to say breathe? But anyways, so one of the weirdest parts about what the Bears do with the Wildcat is they don't want to put Fields there. Like, they could, right? You've got this 3-back set. You could do a whole bunch of stuff with this. But, I gotcha. I think I just, handled it before. But anyways, because, yeah, I guess you guys haven't dealt with me, like, getting up to use a bathroom or anything. But so, there you go. But now I get you. I completely missed that. That went right over the top. The Bears want to run the ball with, like, quarterback run game, right? They want to run the ball where they've got potential things that they can do all over the place. And hey, with Khalil Herbert and Dave Montgomery, I don't blame them. The trouble is that you could do this with Fields. Like, I'm not even trying at this point to say you have to, right? Because like Adamola is saying, has it ever not worked? Not really. The Wild Bear might be the Bears' most successful formation, which is absolutely hilarious. Like, they are weirdly efficient out of the Wildcat. But I will say that right now, I just find myself wondering, like, are they doing this with Montgomery and Herbert purely so that Fields doesn't take the hit? Because that seems to me like it's almost a little aggressive, but that's my 2 cents. Anyways, exactly. Like, I think you can be a little braver and just put Fields in. Like, there's nothing that says you can't. Either way, it's a decent read. I mean, it's simple, right? Like, Montgomery sees that this guy's coming in the outside file and says nope, hands it to Herbert, and just lets him run up the middle for like 8 yards. And Ryan, I agree with you. To me, that does have like Matt Nagy waiting written all over it. And Thigh, I'm thinking the same thing. One of these days, Dave Montgomery's going to throw that ball. I can't wait. One of my favorite Bears football plays ever comes from, gosh, was it 2013? Was it 2012? Was it 2011? Like, the Bears played the Seahawks, I think it was 2011. The Bears played the Seahawks in the playoffs, and at one point they let Matt Forte take a Wildcat snap, and he threw the ball, and he immediately threw an interception. And I howled with laughter from that moment until today, just thinking about that play. That one makes me smile every single time. So one of these days, we're going to get yeah, thank you, Mike. One of these days we're going to get Dave Montgomery throwing the ball, and I don't care whether it's completed or not. I already love it. Like, he's got to do it. It would be a real Matt Nagy, before your career ends one way or another, let the running back throw the ball. I laugh every time. And if we're not going to the playoffs, give me running back throwing the ball. Like, I eat that stuff for breakfast. But so then the Bears run the ball again. Yeah, exactly, Colin. That one was great. What is it? Cohen's 2 for 2. Cohen's got a perfect passer rating, doesn't he? Like, 2 throws, 2 touchdowns. with a 2-point conversion, because he's got the 2017 throw, or yeah, exactly. He's got the Cohen versus the Giants one. He's got the Zach Miller touchdown. It was Miller, right? Was it Deion Bush? But so yeah, Tariq Cohen's got like 30 yards for 2 scores, which I don't know why. I just know he does. So then we've got this play right here. Oh, we forgot one, didn't we? Yes. Going back through this, I'll save you guys the trouble. It's outside zone. Shocker, right? As the Bears are... No, actually, I think this one's inside zone. But so everybody steps up. You're going to see Borum generate almost no power at all. But so it feels like he ends up right there with number 90. Him and Jesse James just get shoved straight back into the running back, and they don't pick up much. I would love to see Borum a little stronger than I feel like we're getting out of a lot of these. And yet, Jimmy Graham's not helping anything. Like, we don't need to pretend he is. But here's that on the wide angle where you don't really feel that sense of Larry Borum's moving anybody. He's standing straight up, like Bob just said. Like, not a ton of power. And you would hope that he figures it out. And hey, Ryan, I'm a huge fan of Khalil Herbert. Please don't get me started, because David Montgomery is such a Bears fan favorite. I would never live it down, but he might have gotten out of that. You're not wrong. So then from here, I'm pretty sure that Jesse James completely annihilates this one. Like, if you watch James, number 18, it looks to me like he ends up confused. Here he is, better circle on the end, where he hesitates. You could see it, like, he looked in. He doesn't get down to 93. 93 walks straight through the gap and makes the tackle. Let's take a look one more time. And exactly, Sam. I mean, I need to say it with every Larry Borum run snap we talk about. Like, Larry Borum being bad in the run game doesn't mean he shouldn't start, doesn't mean he's not going to get better. Like, he looks way better than a 5th-round pick this year that just lost 45 pounds should. He's such a natural pass blocker. It is a little incredible he's so bad at run blocking. Like, that's sort of where I'm at, right? Where at least my perspective is, it's unusual that I can see one of those guys, or like somebody so good at it one way that isn't as good at it another way. Like, even Leno would just pass block on his run blocks, where he would get in front of somebody and then he would just stand there, right? And so he would just seal the edge. Like, if this is a Leno rep, most of the time he'd just step out, seal TJ Watt, and they would just run something else somewhere else. But yeah, exactly, Lester. I think you're right. Like, Borum was an angry run blocker in school. Right now, it looks like he's just mentally not in the mix. But thank you for throwing that in there, because, like, I know when it comes to evaluating his play, I think it's hilarious, because watching him versus Mizzou, or at Mizzou versus somewhere else, is just hilarious. Or, like, it's totally different. But so take a look again at Jesse James right here. Everybody thinks that people in everybody thinks that people in the NFL 100% of the time know where they're going. They don't. Watch Jesse here. You can see from the snap, he's going to take a look out to, I wouldn't say nowhere, but he definitely checks with 56 right as 93 just like blows through and makes the play. So I would pin that on Jesse James, but not trying to be too harsh, but it's definitely a song and a dance when it comes to all this sort of stuff, like pinning things. So now it's 4th and 1, because we secretly crept, by the way. This is a 3rd and 1 play. That's something that I clearly forgot to mention. This play we're talking about, the reason I have it on Jesse James, it's 3rd and 1. Usually, you want all of your offensive linemen to go the same relative direction. Like, I know I drew it differently in this case, but you don't want to allow one of these inside linebackers to make the play. If 56 comes through and stops your running back, you're living with it. But usually, you want the tight end to pick him off so that when Montgomery goes up the backside looking for 1 yard, like 56 rams through and picks him up, and ends up where 18 has sealed him off. 56 has to try to take him down there. Try to imagine the physics of stopping somebody while tackling at a right angle, and you can imagine how you're supposed to get a yard. Thank you so much, Ace. Yes, I agree with you. It does feel like sometimes they take it, but maybe there's a cutback lane if James seals him, but either way he does nothing, which blows the play up. Thankfully, Justin Fields is apparently believable because here on 4th and 1, boom, hard count. And I mean, it's not close, right? That's one of those where you're like, okay, you got him. Like, they jump over, Whitehair does the whole big folly dance, right? And the Bears get the free one, which I thought was great. What clip of Peters' hand? What did Peters do? Did his hand get messed up? But so let's see. Yeah, no, I agree with you, A-Song. I mean, there's just enough evidence against Matt Nagy and the current staff to move on. The trouble is, from what I have seen, his inside hand. What does he do? What does he do? Now I gotta see. Let's see here. So, Case is saying we gotta watch his inside hand. Does he move it? Like, yeah, you'll have to see it. But so, Whitehair's struggling at the very least. But so, from there, oh yeah, I think this is just a standard run play. Well, okay, let me re-explain. Like, because that came out 100% incorrect. It's not a run play at all. It's a play action pass. But one thing that I appreciated that the Bears did, especially towards the end of the game, right, is that they would just send 2 guys so that Fields' vision wasn't too crazy and sit a whole bunch back in pass protection. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys pass protecting. Like, 8. Forgot to count him. So you got 8 guys pass protecting. Fields takes a look. He's got 80, I guess, because Graham already blew his block, but neither of these guys get particularly open. So here on 1st and 10, Fields takes a look downfield. He says to himself, you know what, we got tons of grass over here, and just gets on out, right? Picks up 6 yards, doesn't take a hit. Sure. These are the kinds of plays that you take a look at what Fields can do right now. Because remember, as a rookie, you're trying to make sure that you get meaningful reps, but you're also set up to succeed. That I look at, Mike's talking about how we're running 2 routes and they run straight to the same spot. You ain't wrong. But these are the kinds of plays where I think Fields can really or where I think Fields can succeed. Like, as far as designing an offense goes, because it looks like, Mike, for what it's worth, they're kind of trying to execute a scissors concept and they don't do a great job of it. But sure, if you want to leave your own legs as the check down, if that helps you feel like you're in the flow of the game, picking up 6 yards on 1st down is objectively good. Like, we like that. We're big fans. We're ahead of the chains. We talked about that earlier in the stream. So you end up on 2nd and 4, you've done something right. And these are the sorts of plays where I want to see the Bears kind of call them a little more, truth be told. But, you know, we're doing that more often now. Play action, big drop back, chance to go downfield, a lot of guys in pass protection, so on and so forth. But so from here, they bring on the Wild Bear again, and they do not get much. They end up with a 3rd and 2 after, let's see here. I thought to myself, I don't quite know why Montgomery, who's usually pretty sure with the decision making, did what he did here, because you're going to see Montgomery cut it up the inside when it feels like with Jason Peters coming outside, he could have tried for the edge. But I wonder to myself whether Justin Fields being out on this side of the field mattered. Like, whether they wanted to have Montgomery potentially bounce out over there and in this play, or by doing that, risk Justin Fields potentially actually being involved in the play. So I don't 100% know. Just a guess, but I know what somebody mentioned Peters being angry. He is angry because on this play, Montgomery makes a decent read, keeps the ball when they're crashing. Peters comes around, and he's going to eat that same low block you see Daniels get called for, and he gets up mad about it. Roquan, we're in the 2nd quarter. But so, I mean, Atheist, you don't even want the quarterback to hold that long, or hold a block at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of had a no bounce rule on it. But whether that's a flag or not, I mean, it looked like it to me. Peters obviously gets up very angry, and it's 3rd and 2. Now, we've now spent 2 hours. We haven't even gotten to the fun part yet. So we're going to pick it up a little bit. Montgomery barely gets the yards there, as Borum does a good job. Like, credit to Borum. It's not like it's crazy at this point. Fields takes a look. 98's way out in the outside file, so you're giving this ball away. Borum holds his guy enough. Montgomery's able to creep up behind him. There you go. Then from... where's it here? Fields makes a nice quick game pass. Barely fits that ball into the window. Whoo boy. No, the record A song is, believe it or not, over 1,000. But we take it, or we take what we get. Thank you so much for everybody here. So let's see. Ryan, does Herbert make a block? No, probably not. But sorry. Fields is getting better at this quick game stuff. This is an area where I've been excited to watch him improve because he started the year so bad at it. So bad at it. Like, we can call a spade, right? When Fields came out of Ohio State and immediately jumped in against the Browns game and the Cincinnati game, little curls like this were hard for him. Fields was able to take this ball at this point and just take one step back, plant, and drive it into a window that is barely fittable, but he jams the ball in there anyways. Sure, like, good throw, and I'm with you, Atheist. It's one of those where you're like, whoo, maybe you don't do that again, but he's getting better, and that's the key here. It's progress. We're not even looking to be at the destination yet, but he takes a look at 55, decides, yeah, I can fit that ball in, and does, so I guess he was right. It's one of those that you look at. It's like, sure. So, really nice throw. Zips straight to Cole Kmet. There you go. This is one of the funnest plays of the night, by the way. I want you to take a look at Justin Fields, watch Minkah Fitzpatrick, watch Allen Robinson, and watch Cole Kmet, right? So, if you take a look right here, you're going to see Justin Fields drops back, eyes up Fitzpatrick. Ooh, hopefully I can catch this first try. Immediately sets. Dadgummit, I missed it. All right, let's try this again. Because there's a specific frame I need you guys to see. And I wish I had a little more granularity on what I can do with stopping. But like, ooh, dang it. So maybe you guys can see. You can't. Dadgummit. All right, so the point is that you can see Justin Fields set his feet. He goes from a straight drop back to a quick moment where he sets his feet pointing that way, and that's going to get Minkah Fitzpatrick to bite really hard in cover one, way over to the left. So it's not that it's a bad play by Fitzpatrick. Like, Fitzpatrick sees Allen Robinson running what could be a curl. I mean, it's Nagy's offense, but it could be a go. And so he's got to make sure that he's over there because this corner is playing curl. So with this, there we go. Okay, so he looks over towards Allen Robinson. You can see his eyes pointed in that direction. And watch what it does to Fitzpatrick, the safety. He full turns and ends up way out of position for a wide open seam route. Like, wide open. And Fields drapes the ball in. I mean, this isn't that hard to throw. This is a good job with eye manipulation to create a massive window that, frankly, I mean, Fields just floats the ball to him to make it nice and easy because it really is that open. Quick little movement out to the side, fools Fitzpatrick. Kmet does a solid job coming down with the ball and hanging on to it, but he's running into wide open space. I mean, this is a similar play to that play action one where it's just so open that you could barely miss it, and certainly Cole Kmet is going to come down with it, and you'd have a problem if you didn't. So really nice play by on Fields' part. Good design, solid coaching that they were able to catch Minkah. I don't think Minkah made a mistake. You definitely don't want to see him fooled on it twice, but if anything, they caught Minkah with his pants down a little bit. They certainly caught him on a tendency and played off of one of theirs, because if you don't follow the Bears much, because it seems like we've got a nice varied audience in here, the Bears have run this outside curl to Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney so many times that it's not unusual for them to just have Justin Fields point his feet and blow the ball through whatever defender is over there. But yeah, good job on this one. Like, overall, I like the design. Whether you think Kmet's body control was good enough or concerning, that's honestly your call. But they do a solid job here of getting, like, a man in wide the heck open space, which is good. Like, you want that. And I'm with it, like, Atheist, in terms of what you're expecting out of your safety. Perfect world, you obviously want him cutting this off. But I don't know if it's fair 100% of the time to ask professionals to not bite the fake on a rookie quarterback. Like, when you are a rookie and you have that kind of scouting report on you, it's easier to sell fakes. Think about it that way. Like, that's the one advantage of being predictable, is it's easier to sell fakes. So the Bears' predictability plays for them, which is nice. And thank you so much, Brian. That's awesome to hear. Yeah. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm having fun. But so we're coming up on a really sad couple of plays. But credit to, okay, Borum doesn't do anything specific. Whitehair gets kind of toasted right here, by the way. As 97, it's not like he creates pressure. Whitehair had a rough day, basically all game long. This is this is a pretty decent example of just, he kind of holds onto his foot, which, you know, holding onto people's feet is not in vogue right now, to say the least. But yeah, Peters helps make up for it. Kmet comes down with a big catch, and they're there on 1st and 10. So what do you think the Bears are going to do? What do you think I'm going to complain about? You had better believe it. They run the ball. And I know you got to run the ball sometimes. Like, I know this isn't Madden. I get it. The Bears have even run the ball pretty well. It just always, it was wild to me how often we saw the Bears try to get the run game back going, and it would not go. Like, it would not go. And Andrew, thanks so much. Like, honestly, super fun to hear that you're having a good time. Feel free to chat however you want to. I'll do my best to respond. Bears run duo here. It's not outside zone. The core concept of duo, in case you've never heard of it, it is what it sounds like. You're just trying to do a bunch of double teams. Like, you in this case, with this spread out formation, you're just going to go with Brian Weber. Thanks for subscribing. So we've got a double team there, a double team there. You want to seal this edge, see if this tight end can seal the edge, and you take your chances with these two right here. Very standard end zone run, all things told. But yeah, I mean, the run game has been pretty predictable. They did not get much out of this. It's not like a horrible goal line run, but at the same time, they go from 1st and goal at the 10 to 2nd and goal at the 7, which is not my favorite. Like, I am, now granted, I'm one of those, I don't even think this is all that weird, people that think it's almost cursed to end up 1st and goal at the 10, like, you've got to go the whole distance with the end zone right there. Yeah, Borum, not great there, by the way. But so, you end up with 2nd and 7, and this is where, this, by the way, comes out of a timeout, which I found really intriguing because the Bears huddled up and came up with, let's put our backup tight end on a fade. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it, everybody. Let's do it. Let's get a tight end on a fade. That's our big plan. Genius plan is let's do it. Let's call a fade. And so they do. And Justin Fields, personal opinion, he delivers a really nice ball. Like, I watched this throw a bunch so that I could try to get a good handle on whether or not this was good, because live I thought this was just okay, right? But so at this point, I would tell you, thank you so much, Outer Rager, that this ball for fades is really, really nice. The trouble is that Jimmy Graham, well, more than dropped it case, Jimmy Graham lets his guy get in the play, and in these physical fade situations, you're trying to fully box him out. Like, he's not supposed to get the DB's not supposed to get a hand on it, but he does. And so you can call it a Graham fault, like, sure, because right here, like, the DB's not supposed to affect it in this kind of situation. The ball's there to be caught at full extension, but you're trying, thank you so much for subscribing, Cody, to keep him off of him. But There's a reason. Yes, first of all, Draco, thank you. Chat, one thing that I would love your help with is whenever you get the chance to call out something good that the other team did, like, give them some credit, because this is awesome defense. It is. Like, if this was the Bears corner, we'd be like, heck yeah. But this is also why fades aren't popular. This is why people complain about fades, is because you need a perfect throw, and even then, it's not, like, open. You know what I mean? Like, you're still trusting a box out play that everybody in general would look at this and say, oh man, Jimmy's got to catch this. And don't get me wrong, he should, but like, nobody's acting like this is 100%er. You know what I mean? This is still a roll of the dice. This is the kind of thing that gets completed. I think I saw this at one point. Fades get completed about 27% of the time. Like, it is a low percentage play, and you want Jimmy to catch it because the throw is right where you want it. Like, you do, but it's also one that is a nice reminder of maybe out of a timeout, we can do better than putting the backup tight end on goal line fades. But you get the idea. You look at the pass pro. The pass pro's fine. It's a fade. Like, this is where sometimes I feel like people can kind of overrate the like pass pro when they look at percentages, because like, this is a fade, it's a one-step drop, and Larry Borum does a good job with Watt, but it's not like he had to do anything for long, right? So he gets a win. Pretty much everybody gets a win except Whitehair, who's getting just danced right there, by the way. Like, for as much as I would look at you and say, oh yeah, it's a fade, it's really no big, or like, it's no big deal in the pass pro perspective. Who boy did Whitehair struggle. Like, he gets shooked right at the line of scrimmage. And honestly, if that play had gone on for any longer, that's a sack. But you know how it goes. But so let's see. Can we get an intense breakdown of the tip chat? Oh gosh, do you really need that? But we can if we really want to. But so Joyski, thanks so much for jumping on in. But so, is that who I think it is? My sister's name is Joy, so maybe. But no, Jayski. Sorry. See, my sister's name is Joy, so that's where it came from. But anyways, now it's third down. They take a penalty. Larry Borum false starts, which I love, right? But so, yeah, immediately now it's 3rd and 7, which isn't easy. Borum, just barely flinches, and now it's 3rd and 12. Pretty standard Bears. Like, this whole first half, honestly, kind of a disaster. One thing after another, Bears offense just consistently shooting itself in the foot. It gained a bunch of yards, but they did not turn them into points. And here they come up with a brilliant plan, which honestly, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like it's that bad. There are not a lot of 3rd and 12 winners in the red zone, especially when you deal with pressure. But they just call a post and a fade on the other side. Fields ends up throwing the fade because, credit to him, he reads the post. Yeah, that is not there. Like, maybe if you fit an absolutely perfect window, but this safety is going to step down and just kill your receiver. So generally, you don't want to throw that. And then Bears eat a free rusher. Fields gets rid of the ball so that the field position doesn't get any worse, and it is just way out. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Atheist. You're taking the words out of my mouth. I was right about to like say almost exactly that the worst part about all of this kind of stuff is that the Bears started this drive with a run so that they could throw some fades into the end zone. I mean, it's nonsense. Honestly, it feels like dartboarding play calls. It feels like Nagy asked 3 different coaches what they wanted to do on first down, and they just ran all of those 1, 2, 3. Like, it's wild to me because, yeah, first of all, WrestleMania, you're right. And yes, I am Scruggs. This is just a god-awful play. I mean, credit to the Steelers. It's a really nice stunt that gets Hayward straight through because Whitehair literally passes Hayward off to no one. I did think this one was funny. I think this is actually correct in terms of how offensive line is supposed to be handled. And thank you so much, Eric. Of course, happy to. But so if you watch Whitehair squares up Hayward, sees him leave, and just lets him go. And I think Peters is supposed to slide over so that Fields eats the free rusher. Usually that's the aim, but Fields obviously feels instant pressure from the most dangerous man on Pittsburgh and just sort of releases the ball ASAP, goes right out of the back of the end zone. I mean, Ryan, I'm with you on the idea of like you get Monty on a check down, but in a lot of these situations, your eyes are already over on the A-Rob side of the field. You're just trying to get the ball out because actually I don't see Monty. There is no check down. There is no check down. There you go. But so, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. Let's see here. Maybe PJ, like, I think you totally could say that Fields, in theory, could take a look over here, potentially move the safety and fit it back. But I think Fields honestly got nervous and just wanted to check on this safety first things first. Didn't like what he saw. Maybe he wanted Graham the whole time. And that would not be a good read. But at least from what I've seen of watching Fields' eyes, he's generally pretty good about, for instance, checking the inside post first. You could take a look on this, or like right here. You'll see him keep his eyes to the inside before they go out. Right there, he's in. Then he heads out looking for Graham and gets nothing. And yeah, Colin, I mean, Fields takes a shot on this play. Don't like the play call. Think the Bears could do better, but, well, it's the Bears. So there you go. All right, so we're through the unfun part. It's 11:11. Thank you, 289 good soldiers, for walking through, because it's about to get a little more fun if you like the Bears. Not a good first half. Overall thoughts on the first half, it felt like everything was broken. Like Fields would make a good play and then he wouldn't, because that's what rookies do. Right? The rookie roller coaster is, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And you're trying to build an offense that is built to win in 2 out of 3 downs, knowing your rookie's going to just kind of screw one up, right? Like any quarterback, Jordan Love, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, you are expecting them to make some just bad mistakes. That's what rookies do. The question is, do they make more than 1 out of 3 mistakes? Do they make, like, to pick on Jordan Love a little bit, I feel like Jordan Love made a lot. I would say he made probably 1 out of 2 mistakes in many cases, which it could get a lot better in the immediate next game. But that was just what I saw there. Zach Wilson's obviously had some ups, some downs. Mac Jones is really good at making 1 out of 4 mistakes. He just doesn't make a lot of the sizzle plays that feel like they really come back in your direction, because everything's a balance, right? If you're Andy Dalton and you're averaging 5 yards per attempt, you got to make a lot of good plays, and you can't make any mistakes or you aren't moving the ball 10 yards. But so there is a whole lot of these sorts of things. Like I would, let's see, a way better. Yeah, no, I mean, well, you say this was a better broken, but this was kind of bad. Like this was bad overall. It really was not good. But so like, Fields had some good moments and some bad moments. The offensive line did nothing in the run game, which I'm not even usually a huge run game guy, right? But the Bears have been able to support Fields with the run game in weeks past. Steelers shut that down. Credit to them. But so let's see. At this point, like, let's just move into the fun part, because none of us want to be up until 4 in the morning. We'll probably have to pass on defense tonight, which is fine. Like, we can talk some defensive generalities and come back another day. It's the bye week, thankfully. But yeah, I'm using platitudes on Love. I'm not trying to pick on the kid. Like, he's young. There's a lot to go there, and I did not watch the All-22, so I won't pretend to know. But Bears start out immediately like, oh man, yeah, I think it was this one. What do they start out with? You better believe it's a run, because it feels like in almost every neutral game scenario, like immediately the Bears would run the ball. This drove me wild. That like they had that 28-yard gain on first down to start. What is it? 2 like yeah. So they had a first down 2 drives ago where they started off with a 28-yard gain, and from there they just wanted to run the ball on first down, like over and over and over and over and over. You know what I mean? So we end up with a handoff. It's Peters in this case that can't get in front of his guy. I think it might be Cam Hayward that just annihilates this one right here. You would expect Peters to do a slightly better job of reach blocking him. It's tough block against a tough player, but he immediately just like gashes open the hole, wide open, so on and so forth. And so we move to second down. The Bears call all sticks, right? We'll move a little faster right here, where they call all sticks. The throw is not super open, and the throw is not super good. But yeah, it's one of those where it's like, you're not happy with the play call because it's like 2nd and 9, but this is one we've seen Fields hit in the past. I think you would want a slightly better throw, but, and I didn't point this out, this is an observation from JT O'Sullivan. The Bears also pulled David Montgomery right through Fields' throwing lane for some reason. Like, if you watch David Montgomery's blocking path, he jumps right in front of Fields' throwing lane, which doesn't make any sense. Like, why it is that Fields is timed up to have to step into this throw with his back racing out in front of him is a little beyond me, but it probably affected it, just to say the least. So now it's 3rd and 9, and if you were a Bears fan watching this game, you were probably broken inside, like me, because it was bad. And then they, the wide receivers, Atheist is a Packers fan, you get to watch a lot of good receivers. But we don't. So from here, Fields makes what arguably might be like the play that gets him and the Bears offense, like it puts their heads in the game. Where right here, he's going to spot up Allen Robinson, which like he clearly sees him, but I don't know why he didn't throw to him immediately. He just finds it later. Like, truth be told, it looks intentionally, right? That it looks intentional. Like Fields knew this is what he was getting the whole way, that he feels the outside pressure and gets on out or something like that. What is the scoreboard? Like, oh, that's a good idea, Roquan. I'll have to figure that out. Like, that would be an integration thing. But so at this stage, Fields then kicks out, he jumps out, he finds Allen Robinson downfield. Solid job extending the play. Maybe you'd want him to hit it in rhythm the first time, but right now, like with the rookie quarterback thing, we're willing to take results when they show up. They busted coverage, by the way. Like, this is 100% not good offense so much as it is like bad defense. But as a good quarterback, like good defense, bad defense, you're kind of responsible all the same and have to find the best throw. So in this setup, like, I think is it Daniels or is it Mustafa? One of them just gets flat out. Yeah, it's Daniels. Daniels gets just knocked on his butt. And so maybe Fields felt like he needed to clear the throwing lane. Maybe he saw Allen Robinson and thought, okay, well, this safety's moving away and Jimmy Graham's going to take this guy up. By the way, the original play call is curls. So a real winner right there. But he just hops on out, makes the throw, easy. Threezy's world, I am not. I'm in Central Time. I just don't have any other time throughout the rest of the week. My main job keeps me up enough that I just got to do what I can, and that means starting at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday and dealing with one later. But so yeah, Mike, I think that there's chance like. Colin, you're thinking about throwing the ball to Graham. Let's take a look here. So it's 3rd and 9. Like, to me, the key is, so we talked about the Kmet one, right? The trouble is the power of the freeze frame, right? When Fields starts to make this throw, like, let's take a look here. When Fields starts to roll out, I don't think Graham's open enough. Certainly not near as open as Allen Robinson is. Like, right here, maybe you could rear up and just make just this incredible drop it out of a helicopter throw to Jimmy Graham. But with Allen Robinson, free and easy, wide open to extend the drive, you take what you can get. Like, your key on 3rd down, yes, obviously you want a touchdown, theoretically, but that's tough. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think he was supposed to curl initially, for what it's worth, A-Song. But you get the idea. No, Cody, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to keep you hooked on football. Nothing I can do about it, especially since I'm dangling the carrot. You know what we're getting into. But so from here, Bears are at 1st and 10 after that beautiful pass, and then they hand it off. Nothing crazy. Like, let's see here. Awesome. Thank you so much, Father Drip. That's so cool. I love that. But yeah. There are a ton of these. Like, I agree, where, like, I think Fields is just going to keep growing and growing from here. Like, he did originally, Atheist, run with the ball in a passing stance, but he moved away from it so that he could run a little bit quicker. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. And here we go. By the way, oh shoot! Oh wait! Was that the one? I know. I should be talking about the big one. Yes, this is exactly that play. Like, no matter what I was doing, or no matter what you do, you end up in love with David Montgomery all the same, and there's nothing you can do about it. As right here, Fields reads the edge isn't on him, like, he hands it off, super easy, like, read, and Montgomery's just gonna take the ball, like, take contact 3 yards downfield, and just drag the whole Steelers defense another 6 yards downfield. Like, it's silly. It's one of those things that it's like, oh man, this is fun. Like, this is what David Montgomery can do that I feel like is insane. Let me see. Yeah, no kidding. Like, I said it was a standard play. I didn't give Monty a chance, and he just, like, ripped straight on through. And 3Z's World, I don't even blame you. Like, there's true there. But, yeah, David Montgomery's a beast. Total warrior. There's a lot of things he can do. I think that there are a lot of people that are somehow taking it as if, like, being pro-Herbert or wanting to see Herbert start is anti-Montgomery, and I don't think that's fair. The question is, like, what are the Bears going to do when Montgomery's bill comes due? But stream for another time. So then here they go. Here it is. The whole game really seems to restart here as the Bears are going to call, like, oh man, I can barely draw it because it's like such a wide angle. Let's see if we can get it here. Bears call a 2-man route. They get Mooney coming over on a deep cross, and they get Goodwin running an in and out. It's actually closer to like it feels like an in and out to me. Like, the more I've watched this play, it's just in and it's out. And a whole lot, like, this is a really tough play to defend from cover 3, especially the way that Goodwin runs it, because there's not a lot you can do. Like, this is a pretty nice route by Goodwin. And the trouble is that the Steelers come back at it with like a cover 1, cover 3 look, where they've got this safety seeming like he is, the safety seems like he's going to imitate the corner. This corner, by the way, just gets so badly burned that, like, I think 23 is Goodwin's assignment. You guys remember when Jalen Johnson got roasted by Devontae Adams and just ended up trotting after him? Watch 23 right here. He's like running after Goodwin, but he's nowhere close. The trouble here for the Steelers defense is that 34 gets caught in a conflict scenario. He sees the crosser coming and says to himself, well, I mean, I got to defend that. And the instant he does, like the instant he stops his feet, Goodwin's gone, right? There's nothing that Minkah Fitzpatrick can do, because Minkah is in a similar position to Eddie Jackson weeks ago. Like, this is a while ago, but basically, if you watch Minkah Fitzpatrick, he has to care about the potential threat of either Mooney running a go out there or Goodwin just continue to run straight. Like, it's not another one that you may remember, Robert Tonyan picked off Eddie Jackson back in 2020 very similarly. Like, I'm with you, Jordan. It seems like maybe it is trail and he's just supposed to have safety help. He seems like he's trailing an awful lot for what I would know. But 34 stops because he sees Mooney coming and has no idea that Goodwin's about to bend back his route. And from there, I mean, this play it's history, right? Akusai, you asked if it's an underthrow. This is one of those where, like, I can't say it isn't because Goodwin has to stop for the ball. But me personally, like, when you are throwing at the line of scrimmage, ball's got to be perfect. 0 to 10 yards, ball's got to be good. 10 to 20 yards, ball's got to be fine. 20 yards and beyond, create a catchable ball. Like, this is one of those that I look at and it's like, well, the throw beats Minkah there. Sure, like, it's underthrown, don't get me wrong, but I will take the 50-yard gain. So as soon as you shuck this ball all the way down the field, like, the problem is to be totally realistic, right? If you try for the satellite pass, right? If you try for the perfect ball, just being real, right? You risk an overthrow. There's fine tuning with everything, right? And I think you'd rather, when you see the guy this open, you'd rather underthrow it a little and still get a completion than overthrow it and get nothing and still have that on tape. So the defense adjusts all the same, but you don't get it back, right? And so in this one, let me see, was somebody talking about the refereeing? I think he had it. Mike, I really think he had it. Like, I remember watching this one. We can't go through the broadcast footage, so we can't watch the deep, intense, tight replays, but it looked to me like he had it snared within his hands, where right here, he catches it, and the ball moves around a lot because his hands move around a lot, but it seems like he keeps a hold of it for 2 to 3 steps before it pops out at the end. Either way, gorgeous throw, great play design, all things told, but awesome. Like, overall, this is where the Fields fun starts. You want these, right? Fields, one of the primary reasons the Bears moved on from Mitch Trubisky to call a spade is because the Bears were unable to get those downfield shots, right? When they got them, they couldn't hit them. And so a play exactly like this, Akusai. I mean, to be fair, right? To be fair to your attitude, Bears fans have had such poor quarterback play that we're looking for good, and we don't know what's good versus bad, right? Because we've seen so much bad where it's like, well, Mitch had a long career of putting this ball 6 yards in front of the guy. Like, we can say that, I think. But so I wouldn't say, Brian, that he's running an option route. It's more that they're trying to freeze 34, and as soon as 34 stops right there, he's toast. They got what they wanted, and so on and so forth. So he rips it. Bang, big catch. And Bears fans are out of their seats already. Like, they didn't even have to score. At this point, Bears fans are like, Fields just doubled his yardage, so on and so forth. Like, I think you're right, John. Like, if it was Field, or like, Reinhardt, how was it speed watching the bad part of the game, by the way? But yeah, like, on speed, were we all right? But anyways, so they get down here. This is a really nice play by Fields. It's a really nice play by Kmet because he finds Kmet in the middle of the play in the red zone and places a ball where only he can get it. Let's walk through what's going on here. Allen Robinson is running like a deep curl that kicks out to the side. Mooney's running a more in-pinched curl with Kmet running a stick route right here. And the whole point is to flood it so that if everybody gets way over here, right? Like, if everybody flows in this direction, you've got Marquise Goodwin kicking across the backside, so you take it, right? Like, the whole goal is if everybody flows all the way over, you throw it to Goodwin. So Fields takes a look. He wants the post route first, like to Allen Robinson. I don't know why, because I have absolutely no clue what about this is supposed to be open, truth be told. But he doesn't see it. So he takes a peek in at Kmet, who's also covered, as is Mooney, who's covered, right? So he then keeps his eyes on the defenders right there, where he's now checking for Goodwin, who's covered. So because he sees that the backside guy is covered and all these defenders have been held open, he looks back in the middle and finds Cole Kmet with his hands up. Credit to him, right? He sees that, primes his arm, and rifles the ball where truly only Kmet can get it. It's really nice. Like, Case, I don't know why Goodwin sits. I have absolutely zero idea. Like, Goodwin should keep running based on everything that I've ever seen. But so he takes a look. He doesn't like what he sees, keeps his eyes on the defense, sees them sit there, finds Kmet, and man, look at that. Like, that's a freeze frame that is just unbelievably fun to look at. Like, Kmet sliding in, knowing that he's got the ball, but when you look at, like, throwing at an area, that is spaced beautifully between the 4 Steelers defenders that are just sitting in the red zone. Like, this is wild placement. Kmet catches it. It also keeps Kmet safe from the defender who goes right over his back. That is a beautiful football. Like, you know we're going to get that chance, Reinhardt. Like, that's on its way. But it's wild to me. And maybe, that's not a bad idea there, Atheist, that there's an element of it that is just put them all in their put everything in Fields' frame of vision. But even so, you can see that the processing is I don't want to say getting better. I think that paints the wrong picture, but he's getting through, he's clearly making reads. He's getting off of being a one-read quarterback, which I think most of these young quarterbacks start at, right? Everybody's scared. Bryson, if you're still in the chat, I know you're worried about it, right? Everybody's worried about, is my quarterback a one-read quarterback? And in the NFL, I think they kind of start there. I really do. I think it's rare to see a quarterback start in the NFL as a 2+ read quarterback. It's just tough because you don't know what a lot of times that looks like, but what open is anymore. Fields certainly seemed to struggle with it going from Ohio State, where open meant honestly 5 yards plus, but that's a conversation for another time. So here is, let's see. Yeah, almost always got to tap the speed. Here, Montgomery just blasts his way to the 3. If we take a look at this, Borum does fine. Seems like Daniels, Whitehair, and Mustafa actually do a decent job. Peters does decently too. It's not bad by anybody. It's not great by anybody. So you take it. And then, Case, you knew it's coming. So I'm going to tell you right now, for anybody who did not watch the game, Daniels is about to get called on a phantom penalty, which I do not like, because he gets called on a low block attempt within the tight end box, and he doesn't hit the guy, doesn't make any connection, but for a hot second, let's just pretend the penalty doesn't happen, right? Because the one thing that I did really like about this play, so they run sort of a natural pick with Cole Kmet running, yes, it's a curl, but it's a natural pick where they get Jimmy Graham kicking out into the end zone and David Montgomery in the flat just in case. And Kmet does a great job of evading number 90 right there, TJ Watt, extending the play just a little bit and finding Graham with quite literally no room to spare. It's a good rep either way. It doesn't count, which is a bummer, but it is a good rep, right? Solid red zone call. Fields does a good job waiting for as long as he can. He doesn't have to do that, right? But he waits for about as long as he can and realistically has the license to before zipping the ball to the back of the end zone. Easy catch, touchdown, great. But they flagged him. Now we can finally see what's going on here. So you're going to watch number 68, right? And remember, he's within the tight end. Well, you know what? I'll just draw it because the camera doesn't move a ton. So we're going to have to kind of take some liberties here. But so anywhere within what's called the tight end box, which is the box set by the tight ends, is legal. Oh, why did I do that? And so Daniels comes over. Oh, no, the camera moved. He clips TJ Watt. Kind of not at all, truth be told. Ooh, it's tough because I don't think he got a big piece of him. I personally don't feel like Daniels did enough to be considered a low block in the first place when I watch it. He goes down, he misses Watt, and there's not a good angle of it here on the All-22. So I don't think it's a penalty in the first place, but it's also just within the tackle box. But at the same time, if I could be honest, who cares? I mean, yes, we all care, right? But it's a bad call. Bad calls happen, And so I also agree with you, Mike, that in theory you never draw this up if there's a chance he gets flagged for it. But we're talking about, unfortunately, Matt Nagy, who it doesn't surprise me. The concept's probably exactly like you're saying, 3Z. It's a modified chop block, but either way, I have no idea. Ooh, John, you telling me the ref's at the edge of the tackle box? Ooh, that's a good idea. Let's take a look. Let's see here. I did a bad job. I watched Fields. But so, let's see. If he feels like that's the tight end box, because is he the one that throws the flag? Yes. He thought about it. He called it. Okay. At the very least, when we're watching it from this angle, it actually looks like Daniels is he would probably be watching where the block occurred, and it occurred right about there. Now, is he off of it? Your call is as good as mine. But let's take a look here. He lines up directly behind Jimmy Graham. But either way, I don't want to call it a bad call. I actually don't think Atheist is like off because it's so borderline, right? There are a lot more borderline calls that you've seen get called in all sorts of places. It was just wild to see borderline call after 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 clear no call after clear no call after borderline call seemingly go against the Bears. I'm not even usually like a ref guy, you know what I mean? But it does feel, Reinhardt, a lot more 50-50 than the broadcast did, where they even like bracketed it out and so on and so forth. So then this one happens. This is not a head-to-head penalty. Fields slid, which as you get down and so on and so forth, like it does like look really bad since he barely touched him. Akusai, I completely agree, but it wouldn't surprise me if they would basically penalize for intent. But so this hurt. It also hurts that I'm pretty sure the Bears just run all curls again. You can't really make this stuff up. But so these three, like Montgomery, short curl. Allen Robinson, medium curl. Mooney, longer curl. You know, like it's one of those like I don't know what they were thinking they were going to get, but I think this is a bad slide. Like the hit's fine as the guy goes down for it, but Fields kind of puts himself into the strike zone. This looks like it hurt like crazy, by the way. But yeah, I agree with you, Atheist. Like we're on the same page here where this one was all right, but the next one should have absolutely been roughing the passer. And also, Akusai, I think that is hilarious. Like, where can you get penalized for intending to commit UPI? That's funny. That's good. But so, yeah, John, that's good too. Let's see here. So then they run a screen, and they actually have a pretty good screen. Why is it that this is the best Bears screen that we've seen in a while, right? But as I'm sure we all know, like, okay, so I hate that we're doing this, but let's just suck it up and do it because everybody wants to, right? So takes the snap, throws the ball, released, boom, hit, straight to the ground. I am shocked that wasn't called. Like, especially given how ticky-tack the other one was, I'm shocked that there wasn't like a slight makeup call. This feels to me like it really would have been just like a call. I don't want to play the any other quarterback game. That to me is garbage. To me, that's like pulling things in that don't need to be there. But this, in my opinion, was just a bad miss. Like 2 steps, massive hit, straight to the face too. Like the back of the head at least, not the face. But when you look at where the strike comes from, it's the head or neck area too. Like right up there. So he gets drugged to the ground and so on and so forth. I can't help but feel like it was the Chris Sims thing. Actually, that's really not a bad call, where potentially the refs got barked at. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? And they just dug in and didn't want to call anything. Nice one-handed catch by Montgomery, by the way, who picks up a solid amount of yards right there. And then the Bears kick a field goal. Now, they are down, if memory serves, like, let's see here. So they're down 3-14. You know, they could have gone for it. You make the call there, but they think about it. And honestly, Jordan, yeah, field goal isn't bad. It's just not fun, okay? It's not fun. That's it, though. But either way, Jordan, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they had money on the game, but it does feel like Tony Corrente got disrespected by a Bears player at some point and decided to make his presence known. Like, almost like he was trying to teach a lesson. You know what I mean? And that sucks. But so, yeah, that's my 2 cents. It felt like Corrente inserted himself at the very least. Almost like he decided to make it his statement game. And I don't think anybody wants that in football, you know? Let's move on. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Like, Tesh, you know what? If they find me for it, I'll parade that around on Bears Twitter and I'll become the hero that they never thought I could be. Like, I would absolutely pay a fine for complaining about the referees. Like, if I mattered enough for them to find me, that would be unbelievable. That'd be hilarious. Like, I can only imagine explaining to my wife, being like, honey, or she goes, what's this $500 charge? And I go, I can't believe it, but the NFL fined me for YouTube. I don't know what she'd say, but I think it'd be hilarious. Like, put that in my Twitter bio immediately. But so, anyways, Bears run Wild Bear immediately, like, pick up 15 plus yards. This is the kind of stuff they could easily run with Fields if they wanted to, right? Like, it's just simple, you know? Simple, like, bash concept where they're just going to have 90s pinching down, but they've got 12 picking up the block right there, lead blocker coming out in front. It's easy looking too. Like, Nall does a great job. Monty runs straight through. I don't want to be like, why does it have to be Monty? You know, because Monty does a good job. But I do find myself just wondering why they're unwilling to do it, or to do any of this stuff with Fields. They just leave him in for zone reads and so on and so forth. But yeah, no, I agree, Reinhard. That'd be hilarious. Like, I'd do whatever I got to do. But then Fields takes his own read, and I think that's why. Like, these are back-to-back plays where it's like, why? This is why. Truly. Like, here's the play where Monty pulls it, and he picks up about, what is this? Looks like 2 extra yards from contact, you know? And then the next play over, right? You're going to see Justin Fields pull his own read, and he gets down and slides, which is understandable. The slide isn't the bad part, right? It's more that the Bears clearly don't want Fields to get hurt, and I don't think anybody does, right? It is easy to forget that sometimes when you've got these guys running around in quarterback pads against the world's best athletes, just about, like, it can be dangerous out there. But whether or not you think that's cowardly, you be the judge. I don't disagree with the person, I think it's Mike, who said Justin Fields doesn't have Cam Newton's body. That's for sure. Like, he's not built like a train, but I think they could do a little more bash stuff if they needed the yards. Maybe their legitimate argument is that they don't need the yards that badly yet. Wouldn't blame them. So then the Bears run, is this fake dagger? This might be fake dagger. I don't know what else to call it. They just run dagger, but they have him curl, which I think is hilarious, right? I think Russ is a decent one. So dagger usually is a cover 2 beater, as I've seen it, where you end up with one guy running a go route and the other that cuts straight across, right? But the Bears alter it. They run dagger, but Mooney curls. I don't know. Like, it's so funny when you watch some of this stuff. But like, it's, hey now, a song. But so he cuts it off and turns it into a curl route. And I mean, hey, bright side, it's wide open, right? And you end up with a really, really nice play, not to mention, where Fields has to drape the ball over a linebacker. Like, take a look at him just fitting this ball right over 55, right? We saw Mitch struggle with this his whole life, or at least his whole career in Chicago. Whenever there was a linebacker in front of the throw, he tended to really struggle to get the ball over one and down for the other. So Mooney catches the ball, comes right down. If anything, the throw's a little low, which I think is funny. But it's definitely the sort of, oh gosh, you can tell I'm losing just a smidge of steam. But so it was funny trying to grade this because I was like, well, he hits the back of his drop right here, keeps a nice strong base, flicks the ball up and over the linebacker. It's a little lower than maybe you'd want it to be. Spiral's nice. But if it hits him in the hands, maybe he's got the jets to pull forward for a little bit of yak. But either way, rookie, you take what you can get. Like, and so you like the read. it's an easy one. It's a surprisingly good play call, in my honest, like, it's funny to me that they ran a 20-yard curl as just what feels like a curl specialist team, but it's a pretty throw, looks easy out of his hands. Picks up 20 yards. From the line perspective, check out Borum here, who, again, is going up against Watt the entire game. They did a really good job helping him out, which you got to mention that, right? But from there, Borum does a good job of just keeping pace with him, because this is a long drop back. We're going to start to get up into a lot of these very long drop backs, right? And so it's no easy throw, especially with a linebacker just sitting right there in the middle. Bears come back, hand it off immediately. Herbert gains nothing. We're just going to blow straight through this play. So we do have to make some sacrifices if we're going to get to all of them. But, yeah, threesies, I don't know if anybody knows why they're running curls so long. They just are. That's what they do. This might be the best throw of Fields' career already. Right here, utter seed to Jimmy Graham. I mean, absolutely bananas, right? Like, let me show you the play from this end. Quick play action throw right here where he fakes the handoff, turns around, sees he's got two men in his face. Cam Hayward has danced, Cody Whitehair, and he decides that this absolutely nothing window is just enough for him, I guess, and just fits the ball in anyways. This is wild. Like, this is a crazy throw. It's crazy for a lot of reasons. I mean, like, truly, when you look at this, you could say it's crazy and mean it, because this is one of those where when you look at this play, I mean, the check down's right there, right? Because it's four verts, like Kmet there, or no, that's not Kmet. Kmet there, looks like Jesse James there. It's four verts out of a 13 personnel, which is hilarious. Jimmy Graham there, and Goodwin there. So when you watch Montgomery leak out after this fake block, or not Montgomery, Herbert, he's got a ton of space. Is it 28 yards of space? You make the call. But either way, Fields is already loading up because he's running out of time with Hayward bearing down on him and just flicks the ball straight through the safety hole. That is wild. Nope. I disagree with myself already. The check down's not a better option. The check down took too long. So this is one of those, like, it's not only not liking the check down atheist, it's seeing, okay, I've got what I want, and just letting it rip. Like, as soon as he saw him even, he just flicks the ball to where apparently it needed to be. Massive credit to, Jimmy Graham for pulling this ball down. This is a tough catch. Like, this is... I can't believe I'm about to say this because I think this is so weird and derogatory. This is a big boy catch, right? Like, this is a $10 million catch. That's a better way to put it. This is a highly paid tight end's grab to pull that down over the shoulder on the hop right there. That is gorgeous. Like, but Asong, this is like what we're, this is like, I don't know when we had a quarterback that made this throw. Probably never, realistically. Like, I don't want to be crazy, but this is just wild. But yeah, I agree, Jordan. It's a top 3 throw. This is one of those that, like, all the other throws are crazy. Like, the throw to Mooney is good, you know? The throw to Mooney's great, right? The throw to Allen Robinson is perfect. The throw we saw to Goodwin is an incredibly tough throw. This is absolutely ridiculously hard. This is one of those that, like, you wouldn't even want him throwing it again. Like, this is so gutsy. It's almost arrogant, right? Like, Fields with pressure at his face, I can't understand the confidence that it takes for this kid to see Jimmy Graham breaking open, right? And he says, well, shoot, I've got pressure in my face. I've got to rip this ball down the seam, or I'm not going to get the chance to rip this ball down the seam. And, like, it's funny because I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that would just be like, oh, God, what do I do? But he steps in, eats a big shot, and puts the ball perfectly placed. I mean, it's so wild. All Fields wants to do is make throws like this. This is like what it feels like he lives for. And he takes a big shot, gets the ball down perfectly. And Here we go, setting up for the next Wildcat play where this is like the fourth time they've run it. And this is beautiful. Like, why can't they do this with Fields? I don't know, but it doesn't get easier than this. Quick read, easy score. Easy score. I mean, I think if you ran this at the 80 and you got the exact same play right here, or not the 80. If you ran this at the other 20 and you got the exact same play out, I think Mooney still scores. Like, this is so bananas. Just how well it ends up blocked out. I would even tell you it's probably just not very good defense as much as anything else. I haven't tried to dig into it too hard, but hot dang, 56 just comes flying down, and I'm exactly like you're saying, Reinhard. I'm a little blown away that somehow 56 just completely disrespected the potential to hand this ball away. Mooney gives it, and the rest is just history. Credit to Goodwin and A-Rob. Goodwin in particular, that actually holds like a block, But let's see. Touchdown. Hooray. I guess, Itesh. That's really not so bad. But so, yeah. Let's see here. This is the fruit of those last two where Bonte kept it. 100%. Yeah. And I agree. I think 56 completely blows his assignment. I thought 56 had a bad game. Like, 56 didn't play well. Cam Hayward did. Watt was fine. He had the big sack, right? But nothing too huge. I thought the Bears picked on the fact that the Steelers wanted to play cover 3 and cover 1 a lot. Like, it's funny, Jordan, right? After all our conversations about safety, Minka couldn't be everywhere, and the Bears took advantage of it. Like, they hit a lot of these passes because there wasn't 2 safeties out there, and so they couldn't cover the edges. But that's just my 2 cents. Let's see. But that's how I'm seeing the game, at least, anyways. But so, moving on from there, let's see. So they get the touchdown, which is big, right? Big score. Hooray. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Big one, right? This was the best play of the game, if you hate the Bears, where on the ensuing kickoff, Jakeem Grant, wait for it, big return. Oh, he fumbles. I was howling with laughter that the Bears find a way to score. It's not Fields who gets the touchdown because I'm a box score scab and there's nothing I can do about it. And then Jakeem Grant, who's otherwise had a he's just been a goofy Bear overall, fumbles. Oh my gosh. Like, backbreaker. And the worst part is, every single time you want, it is disrespectful, atheist, but it's so funny to me when you watch these, and the worst part is when the replay goes like, oh, is it a fumble? Oh, it's 100% a fumble, and your heart just sinks, right? Because you're like, oh no, maybe he was down. He wasn't down at all, and you go from there. So, thumbs up. And let me see here. 3Z, I don't think the Bears have a better team at all. I 100% disagree there. I think that the Bears are a much worse team, especially on defense right now, than they were with Mitch, especially in 2020. 2020, maybe they push from there. Maybe. But their offensive line is not good. Like, I would tell you the starting 2020 offensive line was probably a stronger offensive line than this one, but that's just my 2 cents. The current 2020 offensive line, or 2021 is all right, but yeah. This is one of the last 2 seasons of the Bears have not been good, at the very least. Just wish we could play Jacksonville. But so, anyways, moving on to the next drive. And if you know anything about the channel, my wife has turned off the lights. We are going to start slowly lowering the volume, sinking into the mic a little bit more. So we will all have a good time with whisper mode. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, Reinhard. They've gotten better. Like, to your point, I could bark up the offensive line's tree, but just because of their talent level doesn't mean they haven't been producing, you know? Like, there is that piece. And Jordan, that's so funny. I thought it was I thought it was hilarious, by the way. And so Jordan, that's great. This was such a weird incompletion. Allen Robinson on a curl route, and they just have the two apparently totally disagree. Like, I don't know what they were waiting for, but this is about as early as I've ever seen Fields release the ball. Like, this is a crazy anticipation throw, and then Allen Robinson just like finally turns around and sees it when it's right there, and he just never has a chance. I have no idea who to pin it on. Like, I'll just point it out and we'll move on. Blocking's fine, by the way. Like, nothing particularly wild. Looks like they kind of run just everybody moving over. Daniels is on the ground. I don't know why Daniels is on the ground. But so then he and Allen Robinson clearly disagree on where they were supposed to go. It is crazy to me because, Reinhard, you're right. Chemistry. Like, and they need to get better at chemistry after the bye at the very least. But it's so funny how Kmet and Fields aren't having these issues. Mooney and Fields aren't having these issues. Goodwin doesn't produce enough to count as having these issues, but Allen Robinson and him have continued to fail to fix them. Like, it's been bananas. I think the issue is that Fields is throwing expecting Robinson to curl right here, and Robinson pushes into the defender and ends up way off target from where they expected it to be. But that's just how my guess. It's a guess. There's nothing I can do about that. Daniels slips. Oh, that hurts. Like, there are some of these that you watch, and yeah, I think it's on the receiver too, Mike. But like, watch 68. He just falls. Big sad. But so, anyways, somebody asked, how are the Bears doing the snap? That's a great question, and it's easier than you think. Daniels is literally watching for Fields to lift his leg up and down. Once he sees him do that, lift up and leg, it's called a silent count, right? Where they then Daniels is going to sit down into his stance, and he's going to tap Mustafer. Mustafer's just waiting for that tap, and once he gets it, he snaps it pretty much whenever he feels like it. Like, sounds weird. He can't snap it immediately, or the defense can time it up, but he snaps it kind of however he wants to, and everybody just, like, the tackles watch the ball, the guard can kind of see the center out of their peripheral vision, and they just sort of guess from there. Like, oh, Montgomery tripped Daniels, that makes sense. But that's how they do it. Yeah, no kidding. Reinhardt, Musty can't look through his legs or else he just gets toasted. So then they run the world's easiest stick route, nice and easy. Credit to 34. 34 triggers really well here, by the way, there's 34. Like, you would expect you'd get a little more out of an out route, but 34 just sticks with Mooney really nicely. It's a good throw. Like, doesn't have to be anything wild, right? Don't put him in Canton yet, but Borum does a good job with Watt there. You move on to third down, right? And from there, this was a sad one because I like took a look, right? And exactly, Jordan, I took a look at my note sheet and remembered which one this is. So, first of all, the Bears run their usual third down package. I think it's a slant this time, but they tend to run so many slants and curls on all of these cases that the Steelers just load up all sorts of attention on the inside, and would you believe it, they just sniff out everything, right? It's not that hard of a play to sniff out, but Fields takes a look downfield, he checks Kmet, he checks Robinson, he sees nothing. So, we're skipping defense, 100% case. I hate to do it. But so, From there, Fields decides he's going to run, and he trips on Mustafa's foot and goes down, right? Like, not only more curls, but, like, what I think is just funny is the sadness of tripping on your own center's foot. Like, oh, no, it's not Mustafa, it's Daniels. But so he gets caught right there, trying to get his foot either around Daniels or clipping it, loses his balance totally, and just goes right down. But, yeah, it's just slants, it's just curls. Like, exactly, Atheist, at least you're seeing what you're dealing with, or like as what we're dealing with as Bears fans. It's just slants and curls. Like, it must be, like, it must be Jordan. It must just be Hank, and so on and so forth. Like, curl route, and the play's over, right? Curls, slurls, what do you want? Like, I would love to sit here and be like, Justin Fields is struggling, but this is just bad. And then Matt Nagy, so remember, right now, it is, right now, at this point in the game, it is 13-23, right? Bears have just now entered the fourth quarter. So this is exactly when you're going to go for it, right? You're going to keep it all up. Don't you agree? And so the Bears don't do that. Matt Nagy makes the most brilliant decision ever brilliantly decided. He decides he's going to punt, right? And I think we all know what happens next, because yes, it would have been incredibly aggressive to go for it from your own 23, right? Like down 10, but the defense is getting run on. So maybe you like think about it, or like maybe you at least think about going for it. You want to try to win this game. You definitely don't want to give the ball away, but exactly, John, Matt Nagy must have just said to himself, no, we're going to punt and we're going to score. We're going to get what we want, because Pat O'Donnell lets it howl, gets the ball from, what is that, the 15 to the 20. Hot dang. Like, just to point it out, like, Pat O'Donnell is standing at the 8 and rips it to the 20. So not a bad punt. It's actually pretty good. Like, all things told. Way out kicks his coverage as Joel Iyebuniwe. Gosh, get it right, guys. Right? Punches the ball out, slaps it on the ground, and DeAndre Houston Carson picks up a touchdown that I think every single Bears fan watching was like, there's no way that scored. Like, this can't have counted. But it's a huge punt. Like, absolutely massive bomb that he drops. And there's 45. You're going to see him slap his hand down right here. Like, bang, ball's out. DHC picks it up, runs it in. And would you believe it, by the way? You want to hear the saddest record? This is the fourth game in a row where the fourth Monday Night Football game where the Bears have scored on defense or special teams, right? Like, I don't know if everybody heard that right, but the Chicago Bears hold the goofiest record of 4 Monday Night Football games in a row with a DST score. It defies anything other than Chicago. Another one that I'll throw at you. I think this is a beautiful Chicago record. Did you know starting quarterbacks that throw the ball less than 10 times in a football game are 2-90, with the Chicago Bears having won both of those games, one of them being Mitch Trubisky's seven pass game against Carolina in 2017. So you want weird defense-oriented records, like defensive run the ball, that's what wins games. That's the Bears. They have all of the outlier records, like 100% of them, and it's so funny. But like, it's so good, and exactly like everybody said, Mike, just like we planned. This is exactly why Nagy sent the punt unit out. It was like, all right, 20-3 or 20-23, we're in it. And so punt, rips right down, punches the ball out. DHC runs back. It's so perfect. And then all of a sudden it's a game. I mean, like, so I think the defense immediately, let me see. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I guess I hadn't thought about that. Is DHC the only one who bothered picking up the ball? Is he the only one who saw it? Like, let's see. So he goes down. Scales is like, he's done. O'Donnell, he's done. Marsh isn't watching. Null maybe sees it. 23's going for it. Like, he was there. Looks like Bush was thinking about it, at the very least. But DHC's there so quickly, he pumps it up. And I agree with you, Jordan. I mean, he does a great job. Oh, gosh, John. Why did you have to do that? Why did you do that to me? Like, why do you have to bring up that awful moment with Marcus Cooper? That was so funny. No kidding, Jordan. He did a great job. Like, Reinhard, what is it? Ejax plus DHC would be fun, if for no other reason than just testing it out, right? But I hate being we gotta, like, get it, or what is the word? Like, we gotta, I want to see what we have. I hate that vernacular, because it implies the coaches don't know. But so, I didn't think this was a low snap, but either way, good punt. But, good punts don't turn into touchdowns normally. So, you take what you can get. But either way, Bears end up evening the game, which was funny, if nothing else. And I have that marked as, I'll just show everybody, I have that marked as best punt ever. So, I got loopy at one point watching this. 3Z, that's perfect. Everybody's just got to send Matt Nagy a bunch of candy canes around Christmas time for all the curl routes. It's just one for each, right? But so we start the next drive down 20-26 in a script that can only be written on Monday Night Football. Yeah, Mike G, you know it's coming. And it starts on a play that I have marked as sassy, because I want to point out something that I think is hilarious, right? Where, what is this? Fields is going to take the snap. He's going to look for Allen Robinson on a curl route. Yes, it's a curl route, but I want to point out how late Fields lets go of this ball. It is almost insulting how late he throws, and they still make the catch. They get 9 yards. But, like, you want to talk about the exact inverse of trust? Just after that incompletion where Robinson and him were not on the same page, Fields takes the extra hesitation to be like, okay, are you curling there? Fine. And throws the ball. Just watching how these two interact, if nothing else, is it's intriguing. Because they clearly do not have a good feel for each other. Like, at least they didn't seem like it until the very end. Borum does a good job handling the pass off and move at this point. Oh, is that Whitehair who's right on the guy? Like, it is kind of a soap watching these. Taking a look at Whitehair versus Hayward. Holy moly. Holy moly. He gets wrecked. Man. Like, this is wild. Just watching what Hayward did to Whitehair and knowing that Whitehair is our only lineman and making more than $8 million. In fact, Whitehair is making more than all of the rest of them combined, if memory serves. Like, by a good, healthy margin, too, I think. If you include Fady, he's still making more than the whole rest of the line. But, I mean, yeah, it may very well be Atheist. That's not a bad point. But, yeah, Whitehair has just been rough. And you could say it's Hayward, it's Donald, it's Kenny Clark, it's this and that and the other, so on and so forth. But, man, past a certain point, it might just be Whitehair, because that's what these guys have to deal with. Being left tackle means you got to deal with TJ Watt, and that's how it goes. And then Fields, okay, so this one was funny, because Fields sees Mooney and takes a shot, and I think Fields outthinks himself. So it's like second down, right? And Fields is watching this player out here. And as soon as he sees him break his hips back inside. Fields tells himself, all right, I can get to Mooney. 100%. Lets it go, and he almost gets it completed. Like, he could have dropped that, or I think somebody described it as you could drop it out of a helicopter, and oh man, it was almost perfect. But yeah, then you wind it back. You guys found it. I found it when I was watching it. Holy Moses. Oh my word. Throw the ball over the middle. Like, he's so open. He's so open. Like, step into it, dot the ball right there, and you literally have a touchdown. I mean, he, like you're saying, maybe he is Jordan. Like, maybe there's a personal element where he's like, I'm throwing it to Mooney. It's tougher, but at least I know where he'll be, because the two are really not getting along. But either way, you gotta you do. I have to point him out, right? Like, he's streaking so open in the middle of the field. Like, this is bananas. And Mooney cooks his guy, to be totally fair. Like, Mooney beats him to the edge to where if that throw had been perfect, it's no contest at that point. But yeah, that's wild. But so, right, exactly. John, you get disappointed about a deep ball incompletion rather than getting excited that we completed one. It gets better, but so maybe, Mike, but you definitely don't burn much more time. Like, oh, come on, Case. We don't need to be picking on the fact that Minkah is. Let me take a look at what Minka's doing. Like, I need to watch this responsibility. Minkah just sits down. I mean, it looks like his assignment is to rob right here, because it's what, second down. So I tend to think, oh no, is it really that simple? Is it really this simple? Is it really as simple as Minkah Fitzpatrick is playing the 10-yard curls? Is it that simple as saying he's going to sit in the middle and cover the curls? Like, I mean, I don't know, but whatever it is, because it feels like a cover zero, right? It nobody just leaves their zone. Case, for what it's worth, I have never heard of a defensive back going, yeah, I'm supposed to be here, but I'm just gonna go here instead. You know, like the other DBs play. I can't tell, but either way, Robinson's so gaslily open. That's one that you let's just say you mark with permanent marker on the whiteboard, and you say, hit him next time. But there you go. It does, you know, Sir Lord, it might be cover 2 invert. Like, if it's cover 2 with a safety in a corner, it very well could be kind of an invert look where it's a bad, like, what is the word? It's bad. All things told, like, it's not a good defense, but it looks like they drop him down and they drop him out with this. Is it this corner who falls off? Yeah, he backs up. Maybe. But either way, Fields takes the throw that is toughest with Robinson way open over the middle. Rookie roller coaster, right? Because that's not good. But you hope he'll find the guy over the middle. You take what you can get past a certain point. You love the Fields' arm that he shows you, and you hope that he files that one away and says, dang, they got me. But so, yeah, Mike, he 100% could have found A-Rob. He just didn't. So then he takes the zone read, makes a nice little play. I mean, this one was easy. Like, the most difficult thing in this play is Minkah not late hitting Fields, honestly. Because as soon as 48 bites down and the Steelers are sitting in cover 1, they handed this for free. Like, this is so open that they basically just took what was there and get a first down. Great, you know? Colin, I 100% think so. Like, I think that there's a lot of incompletions with Allen Robinson specifically that aren't the same problem with other Bears defender or other Bears wide receivers. It's just a gut feel that I have, but the two seem like they have a real communication issue. So now it's 1st and 10. Getting back to it, I think this is just a really bad throw. Ends up almost picked. Would have completely robbed us of a moment, right? But so, sorry for that. What I have seen here is you could make the argument it's late. I think it's just inaccurate. There's nothing wrong with throwing it right here, but you got to get the ball there, and he puts the ball there. I hope I get the arrows right. He lets the defender back in the play with this much space to have. Like, Robinson has to turn around for it. And to give some credit to Fields, I mean, to give some credit to Fields, in 6 games of significant action, this is the first time we've seen him leave a ball behind a receiver. First time, which is kind of wild. At the same time, don't do it. So you take the incompletion, you say, let's not do that again, if we can afford to. But hey, incompletions happen all the time at quarterback. Everybody misses the occasional pass, but what matters is what you do after that, right? Fields obviously made up for it. This play's hilarious, by the way. This one is funny looking. I don't know how much better it could have been, but Fields sees this get swallowed up in his eyes, pump fakes, and just darts, communicates with Cole Kmet, says, block that guy right there, and promptly runs straight into the guy he pointed out. I think that's funny. Like, if you want to talk about physical comedy, this is what it looks like to me, where Fields, I mean, it's a good enough read. He picks up 8 yards on 2nd down, so it's an efficient play. Steps in, moves 55, says, block him right there. Like, and then immediately jukes straight into him and goes right down. This is one of those where you're like, Justin, what were you thinking? I have no idea if anybody, yeah, or I don't know why people would get mad at Cole Reinhardt. I mean, I think I get what Fields was worried about, because he sees 20 and 93 closing on him and doesn't want to get popped. But at the same time, I mean, obviously juking straight into the defender is not a winning recipe, let's say. So I would pin it on Fields too. He still gets 8 yards, so we're pinning a good play on him overall, but it was hilarious. We're like, block him, bang, hit him, go down. But so, those damn Redditors, Reinhardt. But so anyways, so you remember how we talked about how, you remember how we talked earlier about how one of the keys to offensive design is that the more predictable you are, the harder you can sell fakes. This play that we're about to talk about is a perfect example of that, where it's 3rd and 2. So the line to gain is right here. What do the Bears do on 3rd down? We've already seen the Steelers cover it, right? They run curls. They run slants. They run stuff that really all you got to do is sit right around here, right? Terrible, terrible circle, but you get the idea. With that in mind, there's a reason Allen Robinson's slot fade gets so open. And it's actually because they run so many curls. Now, is that a reason to run curls? No, but it does work. You know what I mean? Like, in this setting, what is this? I think it's Fields checks to this. So, credit to him. You're going to see him touch his head with, like, antlers or something. I don't know. But he's touching his head right there. He checks into it. So, good on that in this case. But he sees the opportunity. This corner's already biting down, so he's going to get absolutely screwed by it. Fields knows. He saw him. So he takes the snap. Robinson double taps his feet right there, and he's so open, but the throw is so pure. Like, no kidding, Ace. I 100% agree. This is gorgeous. 3rd and 2. Big guts throw, right? Drops back, hits the back of his drop. Throw comes out. Now, I can't believe Allen Robinson has the gall to step out of bounds catching that ball. Like, this is something, if I can complain for a little bit, I cannot believe He cannot get his body under control and stay in bounds, like, with that much room. You tell me if you think I'm being really hard on him. Maybe I am. But it bums me out that a throw this perfect, caught right there, can't be turned upfield a little bit more with that right foot plant right there. Now, again, maybe I am being hard on him. Watching it back, it feels tough. Like, that's a tough momentum shift. But it bummed me out live that he couldn't. Yeah, exactly, Mike. A little nitpicky. But if he stays in bounds, it very well could be a touchdown. So, oh well, right? And Grady, it's funny you say that. Like, I think exactly what you're saying right here. Let me see. So Colin O'Grady brings up something perfect, right? You're saying it's not Borum's best rep. And I'll tell you something I think, oh yeah, he does pull his hammy there. Ooh, bad one to talk about. Ooh, that's on me. I'm sorry. But so anyways, let's see. Colin talks about this not being Borum's best rep. I made a whole video on Charles Leno that, let's say, it got mixed reviews. A lot of people hated it, but this sticks to exactly that. Colin, I'd say this is a perfectly fine rep by Borum. Borum wins. Who cares that he ends up on his knees? It's not about control. It's about results. He stays with Watt on an outside move and pushes him way, way out of the play. So Watt ends up on the ground. He ends up on the ground. Fields ends up throwing the ball. Bears convert third down. Nothing wrong with it, right? Like, NFL offensive tackle doesn't need to be about style points. Past a certain point, when you push your guy past the pocket, who cares how it looks? You know? I mean, it's just so funny watching Borum's footwork on these pass sets because it's so much better than his footwork on these in the running game. Look at that. Great job sticking with it, forcing Watt way, way outside. I love the way he puts his shoulder down as Watt tries to get on the outside here. Like, you can see at this point, what is this? Like, Borum puts his shoulder in and just sends him. And yeah, exactly, Jay. It's an ugly win, but it's a win nevertheless. And he just shunts him outside. This is a really pretty throw. It's perfect too. Like, if it had been underthrown, DB might get involved. But so, you know, the irony, Mike, about saying it's the pass Mitch would have missed by 5 yards. 2020 Mitch? Yes. 2018 Mitch hit this pass in the Philly game, the playoff game specifically. I think it was in that last drive. He did hit this same one. So, quarterbacking, all right? But it'll be interesting to see how he develops from there. Let me see. And then we got just a couple more plays. Because here's the Mooney one. And it is absolutely gorgeous, right? Takes a look, and you better believe. Do I even have to say it? Do I even have to say it? Do I have to say it? It's all curls. Again. Atheist, this is what we live with in Chicago. We live with all curls at the 15-yard line. Again. So Fields makes a nice play. Rolls out to his left. Finds Mooney in the end zone. And just whips the ball perfectly. I mean, it's obviously so much better than the play's design. But this is so nice. Like, just watching. Crandon, I clearly need to get one. That's a great idea. Like, just curls. But so, like, this is compact. This is the shortstop. This is so good. Like, this is awesome. And then all curls. Oh, I mean, Jordan, it works sometimes. Like, if anything, I'm making fun of just how often it is. Because it feels like they don't run near enough double moves for how often they run curls. If they ran 10% of their playbook as double moves, I'd take it. They run curls so often. You'd make it work, right? Like, this is gorgeous. I love this, like, throw. Obviously, hard not to love. Looked to me like he was looking for Kmet at this case and saw him get covered up and just broke out and saw what he could make. I love the fact that all he saw was his defender not watching him and watching Mooney. And he's talked about this before. He goes, all right, there you go. Like, I'm going to throw it. This is basically the Jesper Horsted touchdown from the preseason, but like did it in a game, you know? And so it's gorgeous. There's nothing to complain about. This is really pretty. And so, I mean, Fields totally throws him open. Like, if anything, it's like a go get it. Like what is it? There's that whole go up and get it thing. Mike, oh, you're thinking of a different Horsted touchdown. But so, let me see. Like, you're thinking of the Raiders game. I'm talking about the preseason one. Fields gets out here. There is the release. So Mooney's basically just like looking back for it as Fields gives him something to run under. And from there, credit to Mooney, he's the one who breaks away, gets his hands up and takes it. Like, that's beautiful. And A-Song, I believe it. He does that all the time. Like Brady tapping the ball. This is so good. So Fields breaks out. This is something that I think he may start to do more often. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me if he literally got instant feedback during the game. Watch this. So Fields, when he runs, pulls the ball down. That's a running back run, right? We literally were talking about this 2 hours ago. He's running like a back, but then he pulls the ball back out into a throwing stance. That's the kind of stuff, honestly, that Fields could do a lot more of as he goes on. PJ, that's beyond a franchise. Yes, you know what? It's a franchise quarterback kind of throw. Everybody likes to go, that's beyond franchise quarterback. And now that I think about it, most of the time they mean like top 10, you know? So yes, it is a franchise quarterback throw. Here's the release. He's got his classic shortstop stance down as he just jeters his way through this ball and wrists it. Perfect. Easy catch too. Defender can't do nothing about it. And touchdown Bears. I mean, it's the sort of thing, like, what is it? I mean, yeah. This is really pretty. I wouldn't get over it either. This is really, really nice. You can frame it easy. I mean, plenty of people are going to. But so, at this point, Fields put a lot on tape this game. Like, we can... I'm sure he did. Like, Aaron Jordan, Ted Yen does a great job. But so, Hitesh, all sorts of receivers have little push-offs. You know how it goes. But so, from there, let me get to the final little bit. I'll just talk over the end. Maybe the most important part that really stuck out about this game is that by the end of it, what is the word? Oh, yeah, the intricacies. I'll need to take a look at that. Is it on The Athletic or is it on Twitter? But so, maybe the most important part about this game was that by the end of it, Fields had a whole chunk of America thinking 26 seconds was enough. Crandon, thanks so much for subscribing. Somehow, the 26 seconds was going to be enough to generate a field goal. And exactly, Atheist. I mean, it was a game-winning drive, and then the defense botched it, which happens. The beauty of where the Bears are at is that they don't really need wins. I mean, it could be neat, I guess, but they don't need wins to have a successful season, right? They at this point can just let Justin Fields develop and go from there. But they made you a believer, which I think says a lot about what Fields did in this game. Now, the key is to remember that quarterback development is non-linear, right? He's going to come out of the bye, hopefully he gets even better. But thank you, Crandon. You have no idea how kind that is. Thanks for jumping in. But so, the trouble is that while Fields has now had standout games against, yeah, no kidding, Reinhardt, right? Wins make our second closer to... You mean losses. But anyways. But so, the trouble... Yes, I'm well aware that the coaching staff cares, right? But the key is, when it comes to these, Fields has now had a good game against the Lions. He's had a great game, or a good game against San Francisco, and a really good second half against Pittsburgh, with good enough in the first to where he didn't throw the game away, but you get the idea. His development is coming along, which is great, and thank you, Jordan. But so, what'll matter is seeing where things go from here. I don't think, personally, PJ, I'll go back just for you. I don't know which play. I didn't see people open on almost any of these. I mean, nor would they be. It's prevent, right? Was it this one? I wouldn't throw this, personally. It's a post, and maybe if it's an absolute seed, you get it there. But this guy dropping back, I would fully expect him to pick it off. Let me see. This play from deep. Is it this one? What am I looking for? Let me see. Yeah, it really would be. Let's see if it's this one then. Not here either, based on what I'm seeing. But, yeah, anyways, getting back to sort of our final thoughts, because it's 12:30. And we've all got work tomorrow. At least I do. But so, the big key here is that Fields, his development is really all that counts here. And he's getting better. At least he looks like he's getting better, right? Let's see. Last play before the kick. I got you. I see what you guys are saying. I see what you mean. Let me answer you with something that is not going to make anybody happy. Yes, he's open. He's 100% open. Mooney, right here, open. And tackled. And the game's over. Like, the trouble is that if you throw this ball, in my opinion, like to Mooney, he's got to beat a guy at open space, which, hey, maybe it happens, right? But you're specifically aiming for out of bounds, because if you leave that in, then you're tackled and it's over. That's at least my 2 cents, and I agree. Really good play by Watt. The one before he threw it to Kmet. That one. I see what you're looking for now. Are you looking at Goodwin? The PI on Jalen was ticky-tack, as was everything else in that game. Good gracious. Where are we thinking? It looks like, at the very least, he's looking at the fade up the sidelines and then a potential check down to Montgomery. I don't know. I mean, it's always weird. And, of course, Mike, we're not taking a week off. We're just doing different content. We're going to do a little bit more looking back stuff. But so, let's see here. But so, no, not that play. The next one. Wait, no, not that one. This other one. I'm totally missing it. I apologize. But so, anyways, development of Fields is what matters, right? And so, as he learns and gets better, the Bears get better. Now, does that mean they're going to win? I don't actually know. Like, let's see here. Is it this one? Yeah, I don't think this is open. This would have to be just wild. And Fields releases the ball because he's trying to be patient. Like, you can't blow a play here. You need 10 yards more than you need 20 and a risk of not. But I don't know. That's tough. But so, anyways, getting back to just sort of landing the plane here, the big thing that the Bears saw, obviously, is that their future franchise star played like a future franchise star, right? And he did it, I think, actually kind of battling the scheme. I did not like the way the Bears offense started the game, and I think the coaching has to own and wear that. I mean, not to mention, like, an offensive game plan that I don't think was particularly good. Like, right here, is this what we're looking at? I think that's pretty tight, all things told. Like, I think that's closed, maybe, but we got to go back to, let me see here. They could have potentially lobbed to the end zone, 3Z. Or Reinhard, you're right. Yeah, the trouble here is, PJ, I think this corner is waiting on it. Like, he ends up still waiting on it enough that if you tried to whip this ball into the hole, you'd end up getting him, like, you'd end up getting it picked off, more than likely. But so, anyways, the good news of what's going on is that if the Fields plays well, the Bears defense choking kind of doesn't matter, right? And since they aren't playing well, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't mean to push too hard, right? But the Bears shouldn't care, I think, about about winning. I don't think they need to try to win, sure. Like, nobody should tank, in my opinion, but they don't need to care, classically speaking, about winning so much as they just need to develop Justin Fields. And he's coming along. I mean, I think he's getting better. Now, granted, he went from looking flat out unready against Cincinnati and honestly kind of unready against, unready against Cleveland, unready-ish against Cincinnati, but that's a game I'll put on some defense. Everybody loves bad defense, right? But so, yeah, this field goal attempt was bad. Streak snapped. Big sad. But so, the bright side is that the Bears are in a good place up until the moment that they end up, with Fields hurt or something like that. A-Song, I thought it was offsides. I mean, but I'd have to go back and show you, and I don't want to do it again. R.I.P. Cairo's streak, 100% Frenderman, not his fault. Wild to think he got as far as he did, and it ended up ruined by that. I think kicking there is stupid. I don't know if they told, if Cairo walked up and said, "I can do it, coach," but that was a bad kick. Danny Trevathan really struggled. Roquan, I need to watch him again. This would be all hot takes if I talked about the defense stuff. But I will say that I'm looking at this point to see if I can't make the Eddie Jackson video that I want to make, where, for better or for worse, we'll put together a lot of the stuff that we've been watching on streams that the world needs to know about. But that's just my 2 cents. I like him too much. I've started to really take to good old number 4. But so, overall, it is funny when you really get down into the nitty-gritty of the All-22 that Justin Fields had a good game, but he had a rookie game as well. There was a whole bunch of, mistakes that Fields made that I think he would absolutely want back. His 90 grade on Pro Football Focus is awesome because I think he did a lot right. It might be a little more than I would have expected, but I don't say that to just hurt Bears fans' feelings. It's more to say I thought Fields made some mistakes. I thought Fields had some stuff that he wants to correct. I think that there's a lot of things that he would want to do over again, but he made the big plays that he needed. He did what he had to do, so to speak, to put the Bears in position to win, and the defense just blew it, which, bummer, am I right? Let's see. Is it OPI? I don't know. The trouble with jam corners, by the way, is that a lot of times you're going to see, for instance, Vildor initiates the contact, and then Claypool just sustains that contact all the way down the field. Is it OPI? Well, in the worlds of kindergartners, he started it, And so he comes down with a crazy catch. Really, really nice play on Claypool's part. But what hurts to me watching Vildor is that Vildor profiles so well right there. Play the kid in the slot, for crying out loud. We don't need to put a 5'9" corner out against Chase Claypool, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and all these other guys. He's a scrappy, heady corner that likes to play the run what is he doing on the outside when you could just put him here? And I agree, Hitash. I mean, somebody's got to play outside corner, and it's not like the Bears have somebody else, but it just throws me off watching Vildor, because Vildor right now is just getting owned out there. Like, this is life for NFL, or like for Vildor in the NFL. And Reinhardt, I'm not even necessarily trying to say Duke Shelley's flat out bad. I thought Duke Shelley had a fine game and is developing more than I would have expected. I mean, really. But Vildor at outside corner is struggling. He's losing physical battles, which isn't surprising because he's small and he's not a good enough zone defender to make up for it. I mean, there's a reason that the guy's giving up 150 passer rating. You know what I mean? But, I mean, Censor, I hear you. Like, it's not about being a size of phobe. It's more about Kendall Vildor's just really struggling when it comes to stopping anybody. And yeah, exactly, Atheist. And because it is near perfect, he's just not getting tagged as often. Like, he doesn't get targeted as often as that rating would suggest, but when he does get targeted, he gets smoked for the most part. But yeah, I mean, either way, this was a fun game. I would rather the Bears lose fun than win ugly, to be totally honest. Like, if we get one of those gross, like the Raiders game. The Raiders game was not very fun, but the defense played well, I guess. So there's that. I'm kind of all over the place. I guess I just like offense, you know, and I would love to see the Bears become the 2020 Chargers in terms of a surprisingly successful offense with a defense that's just not good enough to win. We'll see, though. Like, honestly, I mean, it's one of those where I look at the remaining schedule. The remaining schedule is tough. Like, playing, now granted, we get the Lions, we get the Vikings twice, but truth be told, if I knew who the Vikings were, I don't know, I think I'd bet on them more, or against them. The Vikings are so funny right now. They're just finding the most unique ways to lose games. Like, the Vikings cannot, I would say they can't catch a break, but it's like they just are so unlucky in so many ways. But at this point, I mean, that's the thing, Atheist, exactly what you're saying. Like, the 7th seed could easily be an 8-9 team, which is pitiful, but there we are, you know? Like, it's possible with the Lions, Vikings twice, the Giants. I'm not saying those are 4 wins. I'm saying those are 4 winnable games, and then you just gotta win one of the rest of them. So who knows? But I know I'm being positive because that's what we do as a football team, right? Or as football fans, we get positive about things. Either way, this was an awesome game by Justin Fields. He made some plays that were just nonsense. He made some good plays. He had some crazy good plays. He had some bad plays. But a really good step forward on a huge stage, you know? And so we'll see what happens next. I mean, the Bears bye week truly comes at a good time. It's not to say that they're going to be any better against Baltimore, but they should get guys healthier at the very least. Let's see here. Like, I don't disagree, Reinhardt. I mean, I think the Bears, I don't know about 5-4, but at the very least, they should be 4-5, probably. John, I don't know. Can I be awful for a second? I hope so. I think 0-17 would be so funny with Jared Goff. Like, I think it would be hilarious. Like, Jordan, you and I agree that the Lions are building a lot of the things that they're doing the right way. It would be hilarious to see them start out 0-17, just for nothing other than funnies. But yeah, we'll see. I did pick Lions for worst record, and they are in a scrap battle with the Houston Texans right now for that worst record. They're leading though, so there's that. But anyways, oh, this was a nice little play by Shelley. I'll back that one up. I hadn't even thought of it that way, Censored. Like, just thinking about the idea of the 0-16 Lions getting one-upped by an 0-17 Lions. It'd be just so goofy. But so, PJ, I hear you. I think everybody throws the tank thing out there. But, yeah, no kidding, Ace. Like, that's the key here, is the Lions gambled on taking their first round pick here in 2022. But I don't really like many of the quarterbacks. So that'll be a song and dance. But either way, everybody, it is time to get some sleep. Thanks so much. I'll hit you guys with my spiel here. So here at RPO, we do what we can, but I do work a full-time job. By we, I mean me, Robert Schmitz. You can follow me over on Twitter at Robert K. Schmitz if you like Twitter. But my goal is to do this full-time. Will take a little bit, so just keep liking videos, tell people about it, watch the show, let me know how I can contribute or get better, so on and so forth. Any support helps. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, all 178 of you crazies, as we go through things. We only did one half of the football field, so we can do a lot more defense. I can't wait to do more defense. Watch the channel for some Bears stuff. Let me know teams that y'all want to see. I mean, obviously we're a pot of Bears fans here, right? But if you want to see other teams, I know Atheist, you're coming from a Packer perspective. I do like hearing it so that I can catalog interest for other stuff, for even little bite-sized breakdowns where I take a look at things. But either way, let me know what's going on. I will probably be back with a bunch of other stuff, so we'll go through that. Ravens is not a bad one. And yes, a song. That was my birthday last weekend, so 27 now. Living it up. But so, yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that we can do. Let's do it. Why not? I mean, yeah, I think college prospect film would be cool. Let me see. One thing of note, don't be shocked if we don't do a stream next Wednesday. I'll see if I can't convert that time into other content, but we will feel it out. Either way, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great one. Get some sleep, and I will see you guys soon. Bear down.